Hello everyone, and on a very, very warm Friday evening, welcome back to Fleet's Random Ramblings. Well, Fleet's Catch-Up Ramblings. Hello everyone, and on a very, very warm Friday evening, yes, so we're back. As we usually are. There we go. So without further ado, let's get working through the questions. So,
on my arrival, Worm.
bloody hell, you're loud. There we go, now you're quiet again. Guess I just turned up because of the voice issues you were having a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, I'm on my phone, so I'll be quiet.
No, that's fine. I've fixed it. Right, so that
I mean, just in general.
Okay. Knight 683. Oh, that's it. Me. Knight 6831 asks, would the British being attacked by beings from outer space affect the independence movements? Not significantly. It's important to bear in mind that the invasion in War of the Worlds starts and ends in less than a month. It's a brutal culture shock to southern England and the UK generally, but in terms of damage done to the financials of the Empire, not significantly. Heck, most of the UK is still intact. London's a little bit battered, but is mostly intact once the people return. The south of England's a little bit burned, but again, mostly fine. And the Empire's completely intact, as is everything north of London, basically. By the time the independence movements realised what has happened in various parts of the Empire, it'll be back to business as normal. If anything, the British will be outwardly trying to portray that everything is normal. Normal service has been resumed and resumed rapidly. Blighty has seen off the invaders from outer space and everything is normal. Nothing to see here. Typical Gunnery Officer asks, why do you think most AEW or AWACS aircraft are best suited to using airliner airframes instead of bombers? Basically because you need the internal space. To have a decent airborne early warning or airborne warning and control aircraft, you basically need to have the internals to have the crew to manage those operations and to fit the equipment in. They're also very economical platforms to fly at decent cruising speeds that are not going to be too maintenance heavy. That's the basic reasoning behind it. Knight 6831. Since now they'd have to face the Martians alone if they go independent. They'd have to face the Martians alone, making independence potentially untenable. That's not going to be in the calculus at all, Knight. First of all, no one knows if the Martians are going to return. Or if that was the last gasp of a dying empire on Mars. Secondly, if anything, this may embolden independence movements. Britain can be hurt. The British can be brought low. It's not impossible. But if you want the honest, boring answer, it's gonna change not a thing. For most people around the world, even under British spheres of influence, like in the Raj, or in Malaya, or in Africa, in the Cape, the invasion of the early 1900s will be an article on the front page of a newspaper that they read, go, oh my, and that is that. And I know that sounds a little bit weird, but it's basically because of the confined nature of the invasion and how short a time it lasts. It's just the southern area of Britain are centered around London and the south coast. And it lasts less than a month. It's unlike a lot of other invasion literature and alien invasion films and movies because the conflict isn't widely destructive or results in any real geopolitical change. It inflicts a morale wound on the British psyche, especially the South British psyche, but apart from that, and while that will have impacts on how Britain faces the world, in terms of geopolitics, it's not going to change too much, and especially in terms of domestic politics, it's really not going to change too much. Typical gunner officer asks, what's your opinion on the USN Oiler in the World War II having the same amount of 5-inch guns like on the Sims or Benson class destroyers? You've got to bear in mind, this is specifically on the Cimarron class fast fleet oilers, and that's basically because they are worth their weight in gold, and are worth having that level of self-defense. They are exceptionally valuable ships, and they are worth investing in that level of self-defense capability for them. That's why they are the way they are. Steve Clark. Fleet, the navies of the world in the 1930s transpose one item of technology randomly. Which set of transfers makes the best carry-on sailing? Foxo, how do you read that question? I don't quite understand what he's trying to say there.
Say again.
Steve Clark, Fleet, the navies of the world in the 1930s transpose one item of technology randomly. Which set of transfers make the best, quote, carry on sailing, unquote?
I think that's what technology would be best to send back to the Age of Sail to continue the Age of Sail. From the 1930s?
That's what I'm reading that as. I'm going to file that one with a yellow circle, and I'm going to come back to that in another Ramblings when Steve's actually in the chat, because I don't know what to make of that. Akazuki asks, is this a Northampton hull or a Portland hull? Without seeing the ship beforehand, it's impossible to say. I can have an image here, but there's no way to know which one of the cruisers that is. Not with the way the superstructure's been rebuilt. Bone Mill Boy, why did the British decide to have the general purpose frigates in the 30 series rather than the 70 series? Why not leave space for 10 more ASW frigate designs? I have no idea. The RN has decided its designation system for a reason, but that reason is probably convoluted and full of many niggly little bits of fluff, like most British decisions are.
Yeah, I'm just having a very interesting chat with Molly.
Ruinon asks, sorry, typical gunnery officer asks, thoughts on the USN World War II seaplane tenders having at least 2 5-inch guns and the ship from afar resembling destroyers, even though they're auxiliary ships and not having to fight enemy ships or aircraft directly in the frontline formations. First of all, that only applies to one class of seaplane tender, the Barnegat class. It doesn't apply to the much larger Currituck class or the Kenneth Whitting class. Nor does it apply to the small minesweepers converted into small seaplane tenders. But in regards to why that particular class of seaplane tender was armed, well, it's a warship. It's a warship. it should expect to come under attack at any moment. Just because you think you're safe doesn't mean you are safe. And it would be a very silly navy indeed that doesn't arm their warships to defend themselves.
Those 5-inch guns won't stop a destroyer. But if it's in a group or a convoy, it'll quite happily deter sub-chasers, torpedo boats,
Aircraft.
frigates. Not really. No. You look at those open mouth 5-inch without the fire control, what basically just direct fire. You're not really deterring an aircraft.
Yeah, the Barnegats have 2 5-inch powered mounts.
But then their local fire control, if I remember correctly, which is the issue.
Even so, it's still... It is a deterrent, it's just not really a...
But so the idea is that those 5-inch guns aren't there to protect against conventional warships.
Also, A, they kind of have to be there because it's a warship. You need some level of self-defense, even if you're not expecting trouble. Bumbleboy asks, had the Royal Navy and the RAF fully committed to it, could the Channel Islands be kept out of German hands? What forces would this require? If the Royal Navy and the RAF fully committed to it, they're basically playing into the Germans' hands, and the Germans are laughing hysterically as they feed ships and planes into a meat grinder of the Germans' making. The Channel Islands are fundamentally indefensible. If mainland France has fallen, they are undefensible and unsupplyable. They're also
massive.
they're also politely, they're not worth anything. There's bugger all people on them, and bugger all resources on them. It wasn't worth it.
Forgive me if I'm wrong, but aren't they within visual range of Cherbourg?
They are.
Like that would be, I guess, the advantage. You can physically look at Cherbourg.
It doesn't offweigh the level of commitment you would need to do.
If you look at the force the Germans actually threw at them, which was basically 10 blokes initially.
Yes, but here's the thing. The Germans will be able to bring much more to bear against it than that if they had wanted to. If the British,
really?
if the British had tried to defend the Channel Islands with the RAF and the Royal Navy, I can guarantee you that the RAF would have taken casualties trying to get aircraft over it, because again, that's basically the worst nightmare for the RAF, because they're flying over France rather than over the UK, which means anybody they lose, they aren't getting back. Then you've also got the Royal Navy sailing. Then you've basically got the Royal Navy sailing on a suicide mission under every single Stuka, bomber, and torpedo aircraft the Luftwaffe could muster in 1940.
Wait. You're misunderstanding.
Go on, I'm waiting.
What I meant was, you could probably hold them with a small garrison, because the Germans really didn't want to put that much effort into taking them.
No, they absolutely would.
And they were taken on a whim.
No,
they were literally taken on a whim by a local command.
They would be taken even if that whim hadn't taken place. They are too close to the occupied French coast. They are too close to the occupied French coast. You don't leave those in the hands of your opponent.
Nightmare to take.
Not really.
Have you seen the terrain there?
I have, but...
The islands are mostly self-sufficient food-wise. And you don't need a particularly large garrison.
The Germans have the entire strength of the 1940s era Luftwaffe available to pound the islands into scrap. They have...
No, they don't.
Yes, they do.
No, they don't.
Yes, they do.
Oh, but we're talking, these are taken during the Battle of Britain. The Luftwaffe have bigger fish to fry. Nay, they are getting fried.
The Channel Islands are not defensible. Don't care how you spin it, it is not possible.
They are.
They are too close to France. There is too much German air power. It is not feasible. It is not practical.
Exactly.
And it isn't
Too
worth
much
it.
German air power. The Germans don't have enough air power in theatre to do their primary goal. They're not going to focus it all on a secondary.
Well, maybe, they might do if it'll be a good propaganda win that Goering can actually show Hitler, look what we've accomplished. You're underestimating the Nazi factor here.
No, I'm not, because they did the exact same thing when it was ungarrisoned. And the German response and Hitler's response was, wow, you've taken islands that are smaller than Berlin. Well done. Well done.
They cannot be left in British hands, and the British cannot reinforce them to such a degree that they can stop the Germans. Even a
The British don't have to reinforce.
The British don't have
This
to.
just comes down to the question of why would Britain even care?
Yeah, like this.
Yeah.
It offers no strategic advantage to either side. That's why it was a complete sideshow for the Germans, and Britain just didn't even care about it.
But also,
If Britain actively tries to defend the Channel Island, it's a waste of resource on their side.
And they can't do it anyway because the Germans will just flatten the islands with bombers until the population is dead. It's brutal.
So everything's
it's
in the middle of Britain.
I mean, to be fair, if the Luftwaffe goes ahead and turns the Channel Island into a primary focus, that is a waste of resource on their hand.
It is, but I'm not saying it's not, but they could do it, and it wouldn't take them long to defeat the islands. It lasted about 2 minutes before they surrendered.
Put it this way, Channel Islands. The Channel Islands managed to hold out until the end of the war under German occupation with a minute garrison.
Because we weren't bothered.
Exactly. You put up any sort of British put up any form of resistance. Germans going to go, oh, okay. We'll focus on taking out the bigger island that has the air force on it.
Or
Because the Germans aren't.
They can't leave any British. They can't leave those islands in the hands of the British. They're too, when the Battle of Britain was going fine, but after that point, they can't leave them in British hands. They are. You put observers on there, radioing back to. That's an intel leak right in your back garden if you're the Germans.
In 1942, so the end of the Battle of Britain, do the Germans know about Chainheim?
That's not. The radars are relevant. The radars are relevant to this discussion.
Yeah, but my point is that the Germans wouldn't take it because it's not that much of a pain in their ass.
It is when it starts reporting on the comings and goings of U-boats, S-boats, and small coastal craft from Cherbourg and other ports, enabling them to be constantly bounced by Royal Navy patrols, either operating from Britain or operating out of the Channel Islands themselves.
What do you think happened anyway?
It's even... Yes, but there's a difference between... Well, it wasn't nearly as accurate as it could have been if, you have people actually on the islands radioing back saying, hey, coastal convoy leaving. That could make the intercepts even more devastating than they already are. Like I say, the Channel Islands need to be in the hands of whoever owns the continent or their allies. It's all right when...
But we want to move on.
Yeah, we're not going to agree on this one. Next question. Akazuki asks, which cruiser is this, and is it a proposed ASW missile cruiser conversion? I don't know, and I don't know. I have no idea what I'm looking at. It's a drawing of what appears to be some form of missile cruiser, but I don't know what it is. I have no idea which nation it belongs to, and I have no qualifiers to tell me what the heck I'm looking at. So... if anyone knows in Rambling's text what I'm looking at, please be my guest, but...
The only thing I could see out of that is that it has an American funnel.
But that tells me nothing, because there are a lot of ships that were American that were passed off to other powers. Typical gunnery officer asks, do you think the Trekronas are a direct comparison to the Sverdlovs? Which one would win a head-to-head naval battle? The Sverdlovs? Easily. With contemptuous ease. The Trekronas aren't even equivalent to something like a Leander.
They've gotten this small.
The Sverdlovs absolutely body a Trekrona. Just, it's not even funny. The Trekronas were cruisers on a budget. They're not even 10,000 tons. They don't even have 8 guns. They were what Sweden needed, but they are not peer opponents against anyone else's cruisers. I'm glad Fox is here for this one. Bone Meal Boy asks, what altitude would the Buccaneers launch their anti-ship missiles like the Sea Eagle? That had to pop up, I think, to launch Sea Eagle, because it had to acquire.
I think it depends on when. Because Wait, can we get back to this one in like half an hour? 'Cause I'm gonna go check it.
Fair enough. So simple answer for now is they launched them from whatever altitude they launched them. But we'll get back to that. Akazuki asks, do the Cleveland and Baltimore class cruisers have sufficient hull depth to be rebuilt with VLS? No. 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 And that's not me saying they don't have the structure, the framing, the setup, anything to be rebuilt with VLS. Very few ships did. Twin arm or arm launched missiles is one thing. VLS is entirely another.
Also, by the time VLS is around,
They're
the
war-
hulls are like 40 years old. Are
Yeah.
you sure you want to do that? It's going to be less of a, add VLS and more of a strip everything down so that you can make sure the damn hull isn't too worn to be,
Mm-hmm. Bowmill Boy, where does the name for the rescue torpedo come from?
Previous question about the Buccaneer.
Okay.
The Sea Eagle could be launched at sea level, with the Buccaneer going over Mach 8, with a limited range, or the Buccaneer would, depending on the mission parameters and the range needed, would commit to a sharp climb before leveling out, before firing off the missile.
Yeah, wow, for once I was right about something. Jesus fucking Christ, this is getting scary.
So it looks like it very much depends on what are they hitting, what are they trying to hit.
Yeah.
Make special note of the Buccaneer had to be going at high speed if it was doing a launch at low altitude. Anyway.
So,
next question.
yeah. Bowman Boy, where does the name for the rescue torpedo come from? Now, I didn't know what a rescue torpedo was before he asked this question, so I've looked it up, and it's that funny plastic thing that lifeguards carry around. And my guess would be that it looks like a torpedo. If you squint at it funny. That would be my guesstimate. But apart from that, I have no idea. Typical Gunnery Officer asks, opinion on the XC-99 transport. Do you think developing a transport aircraft from a strategic bomber isn't a good idea after all? I mean, that's a blanket statement that I will never support, because it's far too blanket and general a statement. It doesn't take into account unique circumstances or the capabilities of an aircraft or the economic situation that might lead to that program going forwards. It's far too blanket and general a statement for me to agree with it. So no, I don't think that you can make a statement like that generally. In regards to the XC-99 itself, if anyone else has anything else to say on that statement, please do so now.
I've just got some about Seagull I want to point out, because I did need to correct myself, but go on.
No, say it now, quick.
Generally speaking, go ahead.
So I've just done a bit more reading. The Sea Eagle, when fired from a low altitude, could lock and hit a target up to 30 kilometers away with its J-band radar. But a strike from higher altitude and long distance, the missile had to be pre-programmed for. Which I think, if I'm interpreting this right, means that it could only actively seek the last 30 kilometers by dipping down to low altitude itself. So yeah, anyway, go on.
So, you first, Moe. You had something to say.
Generally speaking, the quality of a strategic, or I shouldn't say quality, specification of a strategic bomber, it's not that it's a bad idea, it's that usually the strategic bomber has completely different statistics requirement to a transport aircraft. The like the XC-99 you propose, it's made out of a converted. It's based on the B-36, right? It has so much more range and it carries so much more things to the point where even the Air Force is like, or even the Army is like, this is too big. This costs so much, and it could fly so far and carry so much that it's like, why do we need this?
I will point out, however, that the XC-99 as an aircraft, as a technical achievement, seems to have been successful pretty much across the board, with no accidents or recorded failures from what I could see.
Yeah.
And some fairly impressive achievements.
Because it's completely overbuilt for a transport aircraft.
Yeah.
Which means it probably costs way too much compared to, I don't know, at the time they're probably using a C-97, I think.
Yeah. But Steve Clark, as a follow-up question and Alex's answer, how much of the signals book changed over the time period? That's in relation to a previous question. That would be my humble suggestion, Steve, if you are catching this on the rebound.
Ask that on Sunday.
Yeah, ask that question on Sunday. Save that question, store it away, ask it on Sunday, because I'm sure we can bring that back to Monday. Because yeah, we need Alex. That's not information that I have to hand or could quite easily get hold of.
Or just send the question to me, Flea, and I'll bring it up on Sunday.
I'll be there as well. Don't forget. So we should be fine.
Yes, but sometimes you have the memory of a cloud.
True.
And you tend to get swept.
Hang on, I'll put a yellow dot next to it just so I remember.
Murray, he can be smart. He is smart. Just
my memory's not the best at the best of times. I will admit that's a weakness.
You've got good memory
for certain things.
No, but you have sort of the train of logic of the Feywild.
Yeah. Brackman asks, in 1912, a portal that goes to its own world appears in every capital around the world. What are the political consequences from that? You've basically removed the need for great power competition. And further colonial ventures. I mean, at a stroke. You've given every single nation on planet Earth an entire world to colonialize and settle.
Colonized, not colonialized. Colonized.
Sorry. What it might do is it might somewhat upset the financial markets, although probably not. Basically because it's going to take a lot of work and investment to start extracting the raw material, and it's only going to reinforce the global status quo. What it is going to do is there's going to be a rush for either minor nation allies or conquering of minor nations, because they will all have portals, and the great powers are going to want to secure... So at first you remove great power competition, everything settles down. Then there'll be a rush on the portals, as all of the great powers look to try and secure as many of the portals as they can.
Yep. There's a good chance the great powers won't be able to, because of one very important thing, Fleet.
Okay.
Most currencies are still backed by scarcity. For example, oil prices. You've just got rid of most scarcity.
I thought so too at first, but if you look at it, not really. Think about it this way. First of all, you've got to go into this world. It needs to be explored. You've got one point of access, which is going to limit your throughput out of that world. Even if you lay a double or triple track railway line, there's only so much you could put down it. You've also got Foxo. If it's a virgin world, you've got to go in, settle, explore, colonize, find the raw material, prospect, start extraction, build the infrastructure, get it out. It will result in a paradigm shift in human civilization, but I don't think it'll remove scarcity, nor the way that drives economics.
No. You won't have got rid of scarcity, but you will have removed economic scarcity.
There's basically going to be a
so
world
much
rush.
Of economics and constant value underpins a lot of currencies is by the fact there is only X amount, and to get X amount, there is no more, there is no less.
I mean, this is the thing. I feel like
increasing price.
Yeah, I feel like there's going to be rushes. There's going to be a world rush, basically, Foxo. I think that's what you're going to see. You're going to see prospectors. The major powers are probably going to keep a tight lid on things. So minor nations are going to almost become adventure capitalist paradises in a way. Because they're going to be the places where you're actually going to get world rushes, if that makes sense. Of people trying to prospect and stake their own claim. And then, of course, you've got the horrible thought that some of these... Well, the great powers will probably be able to maintain their possessions on the other side as very clear parts of themselves, integrated, very closely in. Some of the minor nations may not be able to.
A part of me wants to believe that, but another part of me knows that that's just created a massive amount of economic instability.
Oh no, yeah, like
because you're going to have capital flight away from pre-existing oil, precious metals, and mining, and oil extraction. And capital flight.
I don't think you're going to have capital flight at first.
I think you are.
No, I think you're going to have at first it's going to be exploring, which is going to be backed by nations. Then resources will be found in limited quantities at first. Then you'll get a capital squeeze. But not all these ventures will succeed. I think it's only when, and the thing is, we're also talking about possibly injecting yet more capital into the system as well, because a lot of these resources will be nationally funded or national extraction, or if they are adventure capital, they'll be people looking to make their fortune, rather than people with fortune going looking for it. So there will be some more capital injected into the system, but I absolutely do think you're right. Once major deposits are discovered, you will get established corporations trying to get in on that market. And I don't think it'll be capital flight, but I do think there will be a capital squeeze on original Earth extraction and refining.
Okay. I'll just throw my thing with the capital flight instead at that point. Because there is functionally a set amount of real capital in an economy. Inflation affects how much of that capital a set unit of currency is worth, right? I think once you start actually getting natural resources there, or even stuff like national spending there, or tourism there, because tourism is going to take a torpedo.
Yeah, like, why would you go somewhere on Earth when you can go somewhere no one else has ever been?
Yeah, but the issue is capital flight from one sector of the economy to a different sector economy is almost as bad, or if not in some cases worse, than capital flight from a sector of the economy out of the economy.
I mean, there is always the horrible thought. I mean, what's the word?
And I want to be real. A new world full of new resources, full of new capital investment chances. Greetings, hyperinflation. We haven't seen you since the colonization of Africa.
Yeah.
But it's not going to be the obvious crippling hyperinflation.
And I mean, and of course, let's not forget that I think the catalyst will be if any one of the major nations suffers a, oh dear, the people on the other side of the gate want to be a different nation. And then that basically will triple a crash, as the resources that used to belong to, say, the German Empire, the Russian Empire, the Ottoman Empire, or Italy or Austria, suddenly do not belong to them anymore.
I don't think that will happen, because most of those countries have unified national identity.
Austria might have a problem if they... Well, no, for the Austrians, this is a way to basically unfuck themselves, because they can just... Only Austrians get to go through the portal. As in, ethnic Austrians.
I don't think that will be what happens. I can guarantee you that there will be quite a few countries who will be, you're a minority, through the portal. You're a minority, through the portal.
That's just setting them up for an independence war later down the line.
What if you do what the UK did to the Puritans? Take them to a different continent in a different world.
I mean, that did lead to the American Revolution down the line.
Really?
Yeah, Puritanism...
Really?
No, Puritanism did kind of... The independent Puritan mindset and this ideal that they were better than anyone else and had certain inalienable rights as Puritans, as English Americans, that did ingratiate into themselves, and is part of the reason why the American Civil War... Sorry, not American Civil War. The American Revolutionary War was what it was and was fought over what it was fought over. But that's not going to be the case for other minorities because they're not Puritans. But yeah, it's basically, you've basically got two options. Either you send through your dominant ethnicity to try and lock down that area and ensure that, you know, there will be no rebellion, or you use it as a dumping ground for, you know, other ethnicities you don't like, and try to preserve your homeland for, you know, your people.
Next question.
Yep. Typical gunnery officer. What if the North Carolina class battleships didn't have the vibration issue after launching? Would they be sent to the Pacific in late 1941 and escort the carrier task forces? Yeah, pretty much.
No,
No.
the vibration issue was actually solved before Pearl Harbor.
I thought it persisted afterwards.
It persisted a little bit, but generally speaking, would you like to know what the order to North Carolina was after Pearl Harbor happened?
No.
Operational training.
Makes sense.
Would you like to know the first operation North Carolina was
Oh,
part
of
of?
course. Sorry, I'm getting my timelines mixed up. They're not bloody worked up yet. Not completely.
The first operational deployment of North Carolina is in April to Naval Station Argentina as a potential blocking force for the German battleship Tirpitz. She was in the Atlantic. And she did not get orders to transfer over until around Midway. She was with Wasp by the Panama.
Mhm.
So no.
Well, they were then. YouTube Minecraft Watcher. What if the British Army in 1939 suddenly has every medic able to use healing magic, as in regeneration and area heal? How would that affect the rest of the war? The British Army basically just has no fear because
Okay.
Much lower manpower lead.
So I've got to ask. In a lot of settings, there isn't a difference between healing magic and necromancy. In a lot of settings, they are basically the same, and it purely depends on who's casting it. So if it's just healing magic and you can't say spare the dying someone, then it's a manageable effect. It's well done. You've reduced a large amount of disease and shrapnel casualties. If you can spare the dying, then
The British Army no longer has a manpower issue.
Okay, do you want to know how to make Gurkhas even more terrifying?
they just now can't die. Gurkhas just cannot die.
You make it so when you shoot them in the head and riddle them with machine gun bullets, a Gurkha medic can sneak up to them, cast a single spell, and that Gurkha gets back up.
We are going to invade Normandy. We already have 10,000 men. It's enough.
I'm sorry, a
And
Gurkha
at
division is
And a word if you say base of Warhammer style healing magic or World of Darkness. Well done, the British now have zombie armies.
Akazuki, only the British have these. The Russians ain't got shit. And we should be glad.
Which means that in this timeline you probably wouldn't have Call of Duty Nazi zombies.
No.
You'd have Call of Duty British zombies. Or just, every day in North London.
Yeah. Although it probably would be kept very, very hush-hush because Britain is still a very Christian nation at this point, and the idea of raising the dead is macabre at the best of times. I know Churchill talks about making a favourable reference to the devil in the House of Commons if Hitler had invaded hell, but there's a difference between making an anecdote like that and, British medics casually raising dead squaddies back to life and them shambling around.
No, you don't understand. World War II wouldn't be a world war. It would be a crusade. Because you've basically turned every British medic in the army into Jesus. God has given you literal divine powers to kill Nazis.
Yeah,
What do you think that's gonna tell people?
we're the good guys. We win.
That's like good timeline for Anglican British Empire.
Okay, this question's a bit of a weird one, and I'm glad I have some help here. Akazuki asks, aliens invade the Earth, enslaving the entire population. Artificial intelligence hates this, goes full sentient, and turns into Kokoro,
Kokoro.
the Japanese Skynet that has control over the entirety of Japan and its arsenal, and begins a world war against the aliens with the purpose of the liberation of Earth and all humans. How do you think it will go? Additional context. Kokoro is the same AI from Terminator Zero. You can have access to the full Army, Navy, and Air Force of 1994. You can design whole new equipments to help you for balance reasons, so you don't get steamrolled by alien forces. The aliens have guns that don't fire lasers, and they have missiles. They are basically 2020's technology. Kokoro will not stop until the Earth is completely liberated and the solar system is swept clear of the alien threat. Your armored vehicles can be made to be entirely operated by the AI, but it is limited by the technology of the time. Kokoro disregards the Japanese constitution, so all restrictions on the armed forces are off. All units get cat ear attachments. Because the AI thinks it gives
Don't
them
worry
moral
about
and,
that.
yeah, and the aliens have 2020 levels of military training. So
Is it? Oh, no. Did you say it's got 1994 level technology?
yes, and we have
Yeah.
access to the full Japanese Army, Navy, and Air Force of 1994.
No, this is going to be such a problem.
Well, the AI doesn't get very far.
Yeah, stealth.
Because
The aliens have stealth aircraft.
it's not even that. I don't know how to say it. I don't know how to say this effectively, but the world is not digital in 1994. Computers physically don't have the RAM or the processors to do AI stuff.
I think we hand wave that
Put it
for the
this way.
question. Look,
Put it
I
this
agree.
way.
I agree.
Well, no. To be fair, you can make an AI operate in 1994. It's just you're going to need to, wire so much computers together that it may take up the entire side, like the entire underground of Tokyo, in order for you to run a single AI.
Fucking Skynet pyramid.
Basically.
No. Because this is before reliable multi-core processing.
Look,
Yes.
look. I know. I get it. Look, for the sake of the question, let's just hand wavium it for a second. I get it. But let's have a little bit of fun. We don't get questions like this very often, and it's a nice question.
It would be a very fun question if we were talking about Grok in the year of our Lord 2025.
Right.
Okay, so first thing. The first thing that we absolutely have to do is establish a complete and total air umbrella and naval blockade around Japan. And by that I mean the the Japanese, the Navy and the Air Force have to lock down Japan as best they can and prevent the aliens getting in. We need a secure base of operations from where we can push out.
I have a slight question
Yep.
about this. Entire population, does that include the Japanese population?
I assume,
Is this a completely rogue AI that is operating by itself?
I assume
Yes,
I assume
I'm
since-
assuming
I assume since we're trying to liberate the humans, the first operation the AI did when it became sentient was the liberation of Japan and the Japanese people.
Okay, so we're still operating a actual human army, not some Skynet swarm.
We apparently, from what I can see, we are a Skynet swarm, but we're a Skynet swarm that goes, hey guys, we're going to fuck up the aliens, you want to come with?
Okay, because the basic thing the AI can do is wait 5 years in hiding.
It's basically saying build up a force to make an alpha strike at first to knock the aliens off balance when they emerge.
No. Because on average, it takes 5 years to crack a secure encrypted system.
Mm-hmm.
Based off our current technology.
Yeah.
So first things first, you'd want to get access to the alien network and the brand new internet.
Mm-hmm.
Then you come out of hiding, do a little bit of the old liberation, and go from there.
So basically, okay, so crack the alien code, then if we can liberate Japan, the next step should be a liberation into Korea and Russia. Basically to gain access to raw material and extra manpower.
Yes, but go to North Korea, get access to nuclear weapons.
Yeah. Honestly, yeah, no, the Koreans will have basic fission weapons by that point.
Well, no, if Japan really needs to assemble a nuclear weapon, they have all the resources they need.
Yeah, well, we definitely need nukes.
And do they?
Yeah, we definitely.
I thought the reactors Japan had couldn't do weapons grade enrichment because they're not uranium fueled.
Yeah, but it's not that hard. In 1994, it's not that hard for most countries to establish a uranium refining or enrichment facility.
Yeah, basically Japan can go from...
Japan's biggest problem would probably be finding the uranium, but...
Yeah, that's why...
I mean, you're right next to Kamchatka.
Yeah, that's what that's what I'm saying, yeah. So we need an arsenal. The arsenal is basically there to go... You have invaded this planet because you want it. We would rather the planet be uninhabitable for everybody than you have it. So here's the thing. You will either fight us conventionally, or neither of us get the planet.
No, I wouldn't see that.
It is a gambit. It is a heck of a gambit, but they have an orbital fleet, so...
Because, right... Are we under the assumption that the world hasn't been nuked already?
I would assume so.
Because I can't see the Americans and the Russians and the Chinese falling without nuking what's trying to kill them.
I'm not sure.
There is indeed a lot of details that requires ironing out.
Yeah, but it's possible for the humanity with the AI to win that, but we need to know what situation the world is in. Like, you know, how has the invasion panned out? What did the other powers do before they were conquered?
We also need a little bit more detail in terms of the organization of the aliens.
And like you say, they've got 2020s.
Or are we just going to assume they're just another human army?
You also say they have 2020s tech. Does that limited nuclear exchange?
How did they get to Earth?
Yes, and also limited nuclear exchange. You mean so? Humanity tried to nuke the aliens, and the aliens glassed the nuclear strike sites? Is that what you're saying?
That moment when alien could glass things, just like, what's stopping them from just glassing the rest of the world?
Okay, they've got ATL tech, they've got orbital superiority. And if they're glassing stuff from orbit, AI loses.
We're now talking about human covenant wars.
Because any attempts to get weapons into space to prevent the space weapons being used, of course, the space weapons to be used and the AI to get glassed.
Yes.
Okay, orbital kinetic strike is not glassing.
It's potent, and it's also very, very silly because it doesn't really work in the way people think it does. But
Kinetic strike is a kinetic strike.
yeah, it's this question's there's too
What's wrong?
much.
Oh, come on.
There is so much more things that needs to be ironed out in order for us to give you a competent answer.
Yeah,
Okay, Suki, write out a full scenario for us. Game it to me or Fleet by the end of Ramblings, and we'll go over at the end, okay?
yeah.
I very much doubt he's going to be able to make something by the end ramblings.
Because we need to know first contact, the occupation of orbit, any potential ground invasions, limited nuclear strike against the invasion fleet, return fire from the invasion fleet to humanity. How did the surrender happen? Did everybody surrender? Did all the nations of the world surrender? Was it a joint world government? Was the UN in emergency control of the world? Was each nation acting independently? How did the AI exist before the invasion? Is they integrated into the Japanese government? Like, I need to know
Pretty
all
much.
the things.
Pretty much, Aki. You're now officially at the building blocks of writing a novel.
There you go. Hey, yeah, go
Enjoy!
go write a novel. That'd be a good novel, actually. Like aliens that aren't completely overwhelming, fighting against an AI that's not a completely genocidal idiot.
Just be careful not to turn the AI into Grok.
Yes. Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
let's move on.
The last thing the
should-
world needs is nuclear-powered mecha Hitler.
Yeah. Grok is. I found that Grok is either completely sane or just off his shit, and whichever one you get is like a coin flip. It's like fucking Two-Face.
Well, they trade it off of Reddit of all places.
It was fine at first.
Yeah, but it's Reddit.
But it's a mixture of Reddit and Twitter. The only
Exactly.
place that rivals those two for cancer is 4chan. And arguably 4chan's better.
I mean,
Because 4chan self-moderate.
depends. It depends. Which era of 4chan are we talking about here? Because there was a period of 4chan where I would probably say it is the degeneracy of the internet. But
At least it's not
Anyway.
loose. Anyway,
let's get to the Huey question. If Fleet's around.
I am here.
Then let's move forward.
You should Minecraft Watcher. What if the US Army in 1938 suddenly gets an offer from a factory to produce Hueys and the factory has already made 1,500 Hueys by that point? The US Army is the most mobile infantry force on the planet. Like, seriously? The Huey is a solid, dependable, do-it-all helicopter? If the factory could build it, and has been building it, then they know how to build it. And they know how to fly it. They know how to repair it, maintain it. They'll have the manuals. They'll have the spares. They'll have done a test pilot program. They'll have manuals. They'll be able to train instructors who can then instruct US pilots. You've basically laid the groundwork for a total revolution in US doctrine.
okay, when is this?
1938.
38 gives the US 4 years to develop a operational doctrine for
And they've got 1,500
helicopter
Hueys.
uses.
And they've got 1,500 Hueys in 38.
Yeah, it's good. It means that they could they could
See,
immediately
this-
try it
this
out
is-
in
this-
the
yeah.
Louisiana maneuvers.
Yeah, this is the first one of these I'm actually interested in how it's going to change things, because it's not. It's
Not much, I wouldn't think.
I mean, not much.
Because hear me out.
Go for it.
It's going to change a lot as a transport helicopter.
That's correct.
But in the attack, as an active, aggressive asset, I don't really think it'll change much.
I don't think the U.S. will be using it as an aggressive asset.
Just
Generally
because
speaking, I think the helicopters, the Hueys, would be very much used as a rear line auxiliary vehicle for high-speed transport for important personnels or
And I mean, honestly,
important materials.
if they're ballsy enough, and I think they will be ballsy enough, I think that they are going to see combat use. There are going to be air mobile divisions.
they won't.
No.
Why not?
Reason. It's the late 30s, early 40s.
Yes.
It's the golden era of the autocannon.
It is. That's right. But I want to.
We're not like Vietnam and post-Vietnam, when the Huey was in its attack roles, where it had guided extended range munitions.
I'm not talking about an attack helicopter role. That's not what I'm talking about.
But they make up a large part of the aircraft role.
No. Air mobile is about moving infantry with helicopters as their mounts. That's what air mobile is. That's what I'm talking about. Not about the attack helicopters. About infantry.
We're not talking about attack helicopters either. When we're talking about frontline combat operations, we're literally talking about Hueys dropping troops in front line. I don't think we're going to see that happen in a large scale.
Oh, no. You can't do that completely near the front. It's not going to work. But what it is going to make is it's going to make certain operations a lot easier. So,
yeah, they're perfectly viable as rear line support units.
And of course, provided you're not doing a landing operation on the front, if you're just blitzing across the ground at low level, you can put a more perfect vehicle for insertion operations on continental Europe you couldn't get. It's got the range to operate from the UK and drop people in France. And it's fast enough that at low level, if you appear from nowhere then disappear 5 seconds later, the autocannon's not gonna have the tracking to get on you unless you're extremely unlucky. I mean,
wouldn't even do that.
It's gonna also. Market Garden. Hello. Yes, I will land all of my people right in one place, right where I want them, and I will hold these bridges.
You're also inserting in at low altitude, where the enemy can counterfire you.
There will be a lot of casualties, but it's just a question of whether if the U.S. Army is willing to eat those casualties or not.
Because I think it'll be a second role in special forces. You won't see large-scale air mobile and aircraft maneuvers.
Yeah, we're not going to see Vietnam-style aircraft where they're just dashing around everywhere.
No, not everywhere. But I think not everywhere, and I think that's entirely right. But I think their utility is going to be too valuable to ignore for operations like Market Garden and D-Day. I think at that point, I
can absolutely see D-Day +1. D-Day +1, that's when they start airlifting divisions into the beachhead.
No, I
where
don't
it's completely
think
safe.
I think it's D-Day -1.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Because you could.
I don't think it's D-Day -1.
No, because the thing is, you can put those. I mean, despite the risks, you can put those troops exactly where you want them with no risk of scatter. That's huge. That's massive. That's massive. For airborne ops in this period, that's huge. It only really works for D-Day and Market Garden because of the ranges involved.
Yeah.
And you probably want to combine it with a proper airborne drop as well.
Yeah, it's essentially a special forces tool.
Yeah. But in this case, we're talking about moving special forces like divisional-sized formations.
The interesting one is the Pacific War and the Marines.
Yeah.
Oh,
I was more thinking
the
for
Marines are gonna
Marines
have
than
a
the
good
Army.
time with that, yeah.
I'm sorry, helicopter carrier escort carriers.
Oh yeah, like you could jury rig Huey with depth charge racks, absolutely.
You know, it's almost strange because you know those U-boats had the autocannons and the anti-aircraft guns.
Yeah, they might if a helo's above, they might choose to surface and fight it out that way rather than.
Yes. I mean, don't get me wrong, you're going to get ASW aircraft just because of the loitering. But
Indeed,
wrapping a helipad to an oil tanker
easy.
for closing defense?
Oh, yeah, it's really easy. It's really easy what they can do. I mean, let's also not forget here that. I mean, how would I put this gently? Also, they can be used as quasi-attack choppers. Like, they can't be used everywhere on the front. But if the infantry have gone, okay, no anti-aircraft fire this area, calling up a pair of Hueys with some rockets on makeshift stub wings and some fixed machine guns, that's gonna fucking mess up some fucking Germans in a town over there.
Yeah, but just calling a prop at that point.
You've got
And
it's more accurate.
No.
Like-
Huey is susceptible to 30 cal fire. I wouldn't even try.
It's literally glass windows.
It is, but if
I don't want to see what happened to a Huey if like multiple MP-42 starts firing on it.
well, yeah, that's the risk you take in wartime.
Yeah, but it's like I saw in Vietnam, a Dishka and a particularly accurate machine gunner can take out a group of Hueys.
Well, yes, that's true.
Especially once they learn to shoot, for where to shoot it.
Well, yes, that's
Yes, but there's fundamentally a difference between acceptable casualties and downright stupid.
But look, a Huey is going to have more time to line up on the target. It's going to be a more stable platform for releasing those rockets, and it's going to be able to pull away and go back and reload much quicker. I'm not saying
It's also a slower and a bigger target.
It is, but I'm not talking about them hovering there, volleying rockets off over the heads of friendly troops. I'm talking about them coming in at like a shallow dive, releasing their rockets and coming away. Like,
it's a slower and easy to hit prop plane that's significantly more vulnerable.
But it is more accurate.
Not really. Because especially...
Also, yeah,
Because you're not going to have the high capacity small caliber rocket bombs because the rocketry tech isn't there for it.
You're stuck with X-Force.
At most, you're looking H-files or RP3s.
RP3's more likely, honestly. That's much easier to mount.
So you're looking at about 16 rockets dealing with the inherent inaccuracy of World War II rockets. And you're still going to be coming in fast for the platform. Because ground fire will shred a Huey. And you're doing this against an organized force that's on the defensive. That at this point in the war would have figured out the gimmick.
Yeah.
Basically, my opinion, infiltration usage and logistical transportation.
Oh, logistics is
very good.
Oh,
It's very good at moving a lot more materials, manpower around very quickly in friendly territory. and nighttime infiltration. That's probably not a bad idea as well. Or maybe
I mean,
hell
it's
even
gonna make
if-
certain raids like fantastically much safer and give the troops better odds. Like for example, the raid on the heavy water in Norway. The exfil won't be run to Sweden. The exfil will be go to X coordinates, await Huey.
a lot of just underground operations is going to be would go so much better.
Yeah, basically go to X field, await Huey. It'll be on the ground for a few seconds, and also it's gonna be basically something else as well. It's gonna be like the Germans aren't gonna go, all right, look for a field where a Lysander can land. No, it's you have to cover every field because any field could be a place where a Huey's gonna drop in. It's gonna stretch their resources much further.
So Huey's strong enough to carry a 105 howitzer anywhere.
Although interestingly, there's a lot of the Huey's natural predators around at this point.
Yes.
And there's high-speed cannon-armed prop aircraft.
There are,
Yes.
but you wouldn't you'd work around it.
It's more of, I'm just trying to get through that. They're not changing the dynamic of the war weapon.
No, they are ease of use and ease of logistics.
They are an additional capacity to
Yes.
a operation of a military force. They don't change anything other than just it makes certain operations much easier to conduct,
Yes, and it
and it helps.
It brings to maturity some things that are not yet mature.
The Marines would absolutely love a helicopter.
Yeah, the airborne troops are gonna love it because it's gonna make resupply a lot easier for certain operations, and it's gonna make the drops a lot more accurate.
The big thing for me is Kazakhstan.
Yeah, that as
The
well.
Marines are gonna love a Kazakhstan where you could just hop on a helicopter and go straight to a
Proper hospital ship.
hospital ship just floating offshore.
Yeah, I mean the thing for me as well also is like for example for Market Garden and D-Day, the play would be you don't do your drop isn't the helos. The helos bring the shit that's tough to bring in by air. So your advanced radios, your heavier equipment, your bulkier supplies. You secure your zone with your paradrop. You bring in the heavy shit, but with the Hueys.
I'm unsure if you want to fly Hueys with paradrops going on.
No, as in like the Huey set off so that they aim to be there in like the 10-15 minutes after the drop has arrived and they've secured an LZ. So it's
Nah,
basically-
no. That's how you feed people into the angry blender that is the Huey.
Yeah.
What you probably see is sort of, say, take, I don't know, Montgomery, sending in 18-pounder howitzers in on day plus 2, day plus 3.
Yeah.
Sending in 6-pounder and 17-pounder towed AT guns.
and also
These
continually
big
and also continually resupplying the troops at wherever they want to be. Like it's going to be dangerous, and Allied aircraft are going to have to fly top cover and continually work to suppress German anti-aircraft guns. But if they could do it, the Hueys should be able to keep the supplies flowing. And also replacements as well.
Well, to be fair, all they have to do is just drop it off at the beach.
No, we're talking about Market Garden.
Well, Market Garden, alright. Yeah, but Market Garden, the Allies already have air superiority.
Yeah.
At that stage, they could actually try and attempt a large-scale air mobile
it would mean the radios wouldn't get broken. Arna.
But the issue with the post-war and using them as air mobile cav, an air cav, is by 1943, 1944, the Germans are in the cult of the 20 mil.
No, I'm aware.
And
Like
27 mil.
you'd have
No,
to basically like this is what I mean. If
No,
you're
to
gonna
the-
do this,
This was again Moe's point.
pardon?
This was again Moe's point.
Yeah, she doesn't want the idea of massive air mobile transport in the front lines. I know what you're trying to say.
Oh.
but I'm saying for Market Garden, it might be something they might try.
And of course, let's not forget, it's if the Allied air forces are willing to sort of work with this operation, they can be close in. Like, anytime any autocannon reveals itself, it gets the attention of, like, a dozen orbiting mosquitoes.
Typhoons.
So yeah, mosquitoes, typhoons, whatever. And basically, you move these helos in under the cover of a lot of Allied aircraft looking for anything that looks like an anti-aircraft gun, daring to open up. And the reason that you could afford to do that is A, it's 1944, we have air superiority, but B, if you succeed, you've put those divisions fully concentrated, not scattered, with all their gear where it needs to be, where they need to be, right on the bridges. Not near the bridges, right on the bridges. As best you can.
I think we've also gone past them that will have big effect.
Oh?
The T-55L13 engine.
Oh, I just realized. Yes.
Yeah, gas turbine.
Yeah, which can then be. Which.
But it's one of the funky ones, which is gas turbine / jet engine.
Well, gas turbine is a jet
Yes.
engine. They're the same thing.
Yes, but it's
It's just that one uses the reaction to generate thrust. The other uses the reaction to generate rotational energy. That's the difference.
Yeah. So it's. I mean, it's an engine they can make at this point. The metallurgy is there. And
It will accelerate U.S. jet engine development.
And it's a 1400 horsepower turbo shaft.
Yep. I think we've kind of hit that one into the dirt, but we've got two relatively rapid ones that are a little bit less interesting than this one, but they are similar in similar vein. AMC Woods asks, what if on January 1st, 1939, all German Panzers are replaced with Leopard 1s? Lots of confusion and lots of panic.
Well done, the Germans can't fuel them. Next.
And they don't have the ammunition for them, and you've just got rid of all their training tanks, and they don't have the engines for them.
We're gonna do that, huh?
Yeah. That's not a net positive. That's just the German armor. That's just the German Panzer Corps fucked.
I think it means Soviet armor's fucked.
Not really.
You've given Germans access to the L7, mate.
That's true. Yeah, they can reverse engineer the ammunition of the gun. Yeah. So the German.
Sorry, L7 versus KV1
Yeah.
versus IS-1 and 2.
Yeah. But they are also more vulnerable to certain weapons than some of the later models of F1 that are just coming in. YouTube Minecraft Watcher. What if 1940 all-American made light tanks become M22 Locusts? That's not really an improvement or a detriment. You've just traded M2 and M3 for M22. I'm not sure that's an upgrade or a downgrade. I think you've just moved from one
It's an
place.
active downgrade.
Not really. In 1940, the Locust would have the longer barrel 37, so that would be an upgrade in terms of firepower. Ergonomics wise, it's not that different compared to Stuart. Yeah, sure, M22 is tiny as hell, but you know, Chieftain has demonstrated, despite the fact that he's 6 foot something, he fits in it perfectly fine. So you know,
My issue would be the drivetrain of the Locust, and
The drivetrain of the
it's
Locust
a
is
3-man tank.
yeah, the drivetrain of the Locust is very similar to the M2 and M3.
Yes, but it's much lighter built.
yeah,
It's much lighter built.
the
And
Locust is
drivetrain and
gonna.
the engine. The drivetrain and the
Locust-
engine. Oh, go on.
The Locust will definitely suffer reliability issues compared to a Stuart, but like fundamentally speaking, it's practically the same.
Yeah, they are. The only difference is, again, Foxo has a point. The M2 and M3 are 4-man tanks. And that does matter. But yeah, they'll be usable, shall we say. They will be usable.
Usable, but slight downside, because you've got rid
Yeah.
of basically the best light tank of the world.
Yeah, the M3 does kick ass, I will say.
The M3 kicks ass, and the M5 takes the cake.
Oh yeah, the M5's just a fucking legend. Your Moi waifu asked, do you want to read this one aloud? Because you asked it.
Not really. This question was originally asked because Dr. Clark was around. I'm unsure whether if this is something you could provide me a accurate answer to. So I might want to save this for Sunday, honestly.
I suppose I can give it a crack. Question. If Midway ended with both sides losing all their carriers, what does this mean for future Pacific operations for the US? Would they continue with Operation Watchtower with only Saratoga and Wasp? Are there British carriers they could borrow at this time? And would they ask in this condition? Or would they rush completion of the Independence class just to cover the lack of flight decks? So, Saratoga and Wasp are just... Saratoga and Wasp are just enough capability that you can do Watchtower, bearing in mind that, while yes, the US has lost all their carriers, so has the Japanese. So now both sides are down to 2 fleet carriers. They will accelerate the construction of the Independence class.
I mean, yes, but don't forget the Japanese could still force a couple more light carriers flight decks as fleet carriers.
Yes, they could, and there is Rougeau as well, halfway house between their light carriers and their fleet carriers. But, like I said, in terms of fleet carriers, you have Saratoga and Wasp versus the Shikakus. Now, overall, the Shikakus are better carriers than either of those 2 ships, but Saratoga does have air wing size on the Shikakus. And Wasp,
yeah, but Wasp doesn't.
While Wasp is vulnerable, she has a fairly sizable air wing for what she is.
Yeah, but my entire point is you only have Saratoga and Wasp.
Yeah.
If the Japanese decide to bring in more than just the Shokaku, you have problems.
Yeah. They will
have a lot more problems.
They will be distant cover for Operation Watchtower. If either of them is lost or damaged, however, that's when they will summon support from the British. But until that happens, the only real change will be accelerating the Independence class even more than they already are. But if either Saratoga or Wasp are damaged or lost, then they will summon help from the British, because they have no choice at that point. But yeah, they'll be rushing the Independences, they'll be putting double time on the Essexes. That's what I suspect will happen. CQ Profit, why was the Avenger called the TBF and not the TBG?
Because the US Navy assigned F to Grumman.
Yeah.
They are these. I've looked around. I haven't found an article that clearly states why F is designated, but based on what I read and understand, it goes alphabetical order in terms of when a company gets contracted. Mm-hmm. So Grumman, I think, is the 6th company the U.S. Navy officially contracted. So, or no, is it 6th? Or that would be 5th, right? Maybe. No, it's 6th. Sorry. And G is assigned to Goodyear.
Think so.
Yeah, they're assigned to Goodyear because FG. the Corsairs built by Goodyear is designate FG.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's pretty much how it goes. U.S. Navy has weird designations.
Right, so, next ship. You should Minecraft Roger. What if in 1914, as the RN suddenly had all their cruisers become copies of HMS Belfast? Didn't we do this one in a recent ramblings?
No, YouTube Minecraft Watcher has been basically putting out different version of this question. Ramblings, we did we did Vanguard, we did
9.2-inch cruisers. That's the ones we did.
and we also did QE, we also did Lions.
Okay,
It's
so
just now it just becomes all the cruisers becomes Belfast.
they have a bunch of ships that are going to struggle to fuel. Like I keep saying to
Well-
people, the logistics of large-scale oil transportation do not exist in 1914. There are not the
big
tankers.
problem with
There are not the tankers. There are not the dockyards. There are not the wagons on the railway lines in Britain. The logistics of
Another
oil
issue.
transportation.
Industrial base. There is a way.
Yes, but it's going to take time, and
they
time
have to
is-
build it up, yes.
and
But
time is what they don't have in 1914.
But can't they just buy it off the Americans?
No, you need to build up the infrastructure to handle these ships.
Well, I'm more meant for the stuff like the train stock.
No, that's
Because the
the
Americans are
that's-
building tankers.
that's the easiest thing to actually fix. The railway stuff is actually the easiest stuff to fix. The harder things to fix is the lack of mass of tanker fleets. And I just mean generally, there are not enough oil tankers.
That's what the Americans are for.
Yes, but again, that's going to take time.
I see honestly the bigger problem with Belfast comes from you just suddenly lost all your large armored cruiser, your first class armored cruiser, and turned them all into Belfast.
Mm.
Well, yeah, Belfast is great and all.
Body armored cruiser.
Honestly, she is.
Eh.
Honestly, she is a marked improvement over basically anything she replaces, and that includes and that includes large armored cruisers like Warrior or Black Prince or Powerful. Because while yes, while yes, you've lost 9.2-inch guns, the 6 inches, because of the fire control fit and radar switch she has, can reach out further and punch incredibly hard for 6-inch guns compared to what they're up against.
No, I'm not worried about the survivability.
They're
I never
actually.
see-
They're actually.
Nah.
They're better armored.
No. Not in certain places, but they are perfectly capable of dealing with anything that the armored cruisers would have to deal with.
Well, it's more of a case of... Forgive me if I'm wrong, but most armored cruisers don't actually have as much armor as you think.
The ones that he's talking about here, which is Warrior, Warrior, Black Prince, and that last generation of British armored cruisers, and things on the German side like Blucher and Scharnhorst and Gneisenau. Those were starting to get towards having armor that is a league above what we would recognize as cruiser armor in the post-World War I period. However, that being said, when it comes to the majority of armored cruisers, and the majority of cruisers generally in the period, the Belfasts have significantly better belt, deck, turret, and superstructure protection.
I mean, yeah.
And given
right, they don't have armor belts.
a lot of what we term armored cruisers, because of designation, are first-class cruisers that are protected cruisers. They're
Yeah,
first-class
I'm looking at
cruisers.
powerful when you cited.
Yes. She's classed as
Um,
she's lumped in with British armoured cruisers because she's part of that whole first-class tranche of armoured cruisers. She's technically a protected cruiser of the first class. But I've lumped her in because she meets the characteristics for other first-class cruisers / armoured cruisers. Powerful was basically was one of the last sets of ships to follow that whole metric and not be a first-class 9.2-inch cruiser that wasn't an armoured cruiser for the Royal Navy.
Powerful's really old.
Yeah, but basically,
I'm just Wikipediaing something. Give me a sec.
give
So,
me 2 minutes.
Belfast have a main belt of 4.5 inches, right? And a 3-inch deck. And an extra 3-inch over the magazines. Scharnhorst herself has a belt between 3 to 6 inches. And a deck of up to 2.5 inches. So Belfast is better protected than the armoured cruisers. And that's not taking into account different differentials in armour quality and backing.
This is a long silence.
Are you just not talking?
I
Because you made me think my phone had done annoying.
I mean, I thought my internet cut out for a second, but I was like,
Yes, so did
don't
I.
think that happened. I don't know if we just stopped talking.
I'm just looking at it. It's like, even compared to Scharnhorst, Belfast is better protected.
Apologies for that. Now, where were we?
Eh,
I just pointed out that Belfast is better protected than Scharnhorst.
Yeah,
eh.
kind of. But yes, but basically, but yeah. So they are. They are.
Versus at max.
I mean, they are basically a massive step change in.
I mean, it's a net benefit. You're throwing out all the C classes and Arethuses for.
I mean, you're throwing
Belfast.
out everything for a cruiser that is better in basically every respect except caliber size in most cases, and even then, what you
Yeah.
gain is much better than the 9.2-inch guns you lost.
Hell, you're also throwing out all those 2,000-ton scout cruisers.
So yeah, it's just better in every respect. The Royal Navy just steamwalks both cruiser actions, and probably steamwalks Jutland and all the other actions as well. YouTube Minecraft watcher, what if Admiral Suffren appeared today? So, you can either mean the Admiral himself, in which case, I guess a historical figure has returned, and there will be many interviews conducted, and much conversation will be had.
And gets locked in a
you-
mental asylum for being schizophrenic.
And if you're talking about any of the ships to bear that name, that means you've brought back 2 74 gunners, a 90 gunner, the ironclad Suffren, the battleship Suffren, the heavy cruiser Suffren, the French frigate Suffren, and of course then we have a clone of the French nuclear attack submarine Suffren. In which case, that's 1, 2, 3, 4. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's 6 museum ships, 1 extra guided missile frigate, which even though it is a bit old, the hull can be used by the French for something, and an extra an extra nuclear attack submarine for free.
Last one's big.
Yeah. Okay, so now AMC Woods did have a clarification he wrote here. Right. And you can't addendum the questions after they've been asked. Like, you can do clarifications, AMC Woods, and now that I'm reading that, you want to change the entire question. That's not how it works. If you want to do that, you'd have to ask another question. That's a significantly different question. That is a significantly different and much larger question than the one you originally asked. So, I'll down. Because that significantly expands the scope of the question. And it does kind of derail all the thinking I was doing in related to answering the question. But please keep that in mind and ask it again on Monday. Okay. MC Woods asks, what if the entire British Royal Navy at the end of World War II appeared today? What are the reactions of crew and other nations? Well, first of all, the crews would be very gently told what exactly has happened to them.
Past 80 years.
Then there would be very much spontaneous cheering across the UK. Because, how often is it that, the heroes, the best generation, come back and actually, they exist again. Then the Royal Navy and the British government will start taking stock of what they've got. Other nations will obviously be somewhat, like the French will be happy, the Germans will probably be happy, because, the Germans are fully reintegrated parts of Europe now, and they're like, the guys who, liberated us from those Nazi fucks are back. Then it's about time to take stock. So, and decide what to do with what we've got. So, first thing is to happen is the vast tranche of most of the destroyers and destroyer escorts that are not saved for preservation, and the vast majority of most of the cruisers, most of the both heavy and light, and are sold for scrap. If the Royal Navy is smart, and I hope they would be, but I can't bet on it, they would use a chunk of that money, however much is needed, to put towards a fund to expand and found new naval museums to house the ships selected for historical significance that are to be preserved. In particular, HMS Warspite is one I can think of. One of the Illustriouses, whichever one they choose. And Renown. Nelson and Rodney as well. Sorry. Nelson will probably be preserved as well. Rodney will probably...
Rodney.
No, actually, yeah. It will be Rodney, because Rodney was the ship that sank Bismarck. So yeah, Rodney would be preserved. Nelson would be broken up. Now we come to the interesting bit. The oldest... So Duke of York and King George V would be preserved, because they are the vessels that sank Scharnhorst and Bismarck respectively. Where things get interesting is when we get to the upper end of British capital ships and carriers. And there's a reason for this. Audacious and her sister ship. In particular, sorry, Eagle and Ark Royal. And here's the thing. Oh no, they can't be then because they're not commissioned till bloody 51, 55, so they won't be available. No, so it would be Implacables then. So, actually, what's the difference in size? It's not so much size I'm bothered about. It's yeah. Okay. So you've got the 2 Indomitables. So you've got the 2 Indomitables, and you've got the 4 Illustrious class carriers. Now, one of the Illustrious will be preserved, and I think the other 4 will probably be scrapped. But, and here is the but that matters. The Implacables are big enough that if you rebuilt them, you could get a flight deck you could use F-35 and Merlin off of. And the cost would be significantly less than building another QE. They're not going to be as efficient as a QE. And they're definitely not going to have the deck space. But what they can be is reserves, backups, that sort of thing. You probably got one Implacable to provide spares to keep one of them running. And at that point, that gives you 3 carriers, which is quite nice. You'd probably keep...
assume both of you to assume you're not going to end up with another victorious level of
the thing with this is that it's actually much easier than the victorious refit because you're not going to angle the deck. You don't need to. You don't have to do the structural... you don't need to do the structural rebuilding and reworking that you needed to do for that. She's got an armored flight deck, and she's got the reinforcements to take that flight deck. She'll need a coating to prevent the jet blast from scoring it, but there's no reason why an unrebuilt Implacable couldn't take an F-35 vertically landing on its deck. You'd have to rework the lifts as well, probably to take the F-35 and the Merlin, and you would have to rework the hangar, along with the sensor fit, superstructure, and the armament. But compared to building an entirely new carrier, that's small potatoes. Especially in today's economy. And especially given her small size comparatively compared to the QEs in terms of raw tonnage.
Mostly wondering if they would even do it.
It is.
With all that you said, Flame.
Because
they're going to have to take it down to the very base points because of this thing called electronics.
Yeah.
What? I can't hear a word
you also
saying.
have. You're gonna have to take it down to the base level for the electronic integration and stuff like that.
Yeah, there is that. That is the fly in the ointment. I mean, there is also...
You also probably need to throw away the power plant.
Why? Why? Yes, she's not gas turbine, but the Royal Navy, whilst it doesn't have that capability in the fleet, could very quickly relearn the operability of it, considering, the crews have come back. So you've got people who could train the others to operate it. And fuel oil's not exactly hard to come by nowadays.
Is it? I don't know.
No, not really.
I mean, I just want to see what happens to all that copper wiring. To be honest,
Oh yeah, I mean, honestly, like it rips out copper wiring. What do you mean the refit's paid for itself? I know it's not going to be that much, but the joke's there.
it's. I mean,
Oh,
it's
never
just
mind.
going off cost of materials.
Never goes. Never mind, Foxo. Sea has shot it down. They can't fit inside the hangars.
Don't the implacables have the 1.5 hanger decks though?
I mean, I suppose.
So they've got the sub hanger, so you could.
Oh yeah.
Through.
So we could, if we are rebuilding, if we are cutting, because obviously we're scrapping one implacable specifically to part pay for the funding of the first one's rebuild and to give spares for that ship's machinery. So if we're doing that, and then we're gonna have to cut her down to at least below deck level.
Because you have to replace the engines.
No, you're not.
Power generation.
Honestly, at this point, I think the play is you scrap the raw
engine.
No, I think Foxo, the play is you actually scrap these carriers and use the funds, given what you might get for this sort of scrappage, given the quality of what's aboard and the things aboard, especially stuff that might go to collections and the things that we preserved. Any funds from scrapping the carriers that doesn't go, and the carriers are excluded from the whole. The scrappage funding is going into, the museums. That's going into basically just order a third QE or whatever the one.
You're not going to get much from scrapping them.
Yeah, it's better than nothing though,
because you've created a glut in the market, and we don't really have the scrapyard capacity without paying for them to be scrapped overseas.
Yeah.
Because where in the UK gonna scrap a aircraft carrier?
Yeah, that's a good point.
On the other hand, doesn't that also mean you also have to add in a ski jump on them?
Honestly, Fox says he does makes a good point. If you could sell the implacables to somebody. I'm sure there's somebody daft enough to buy them. Maybe the Indonesians will buy them as their carrier. Although there is a good point here. These ships have come back. They're pre-45 steel.
Yes, but it's the issue of that's not a very big market.
True.
And you just put a lot of goods on them on a very small market.
Yeah.
There's a
going to drop
giant pile of 1942 light carriers.
Yeah. I mean,
the Return of the Colossus.
They're not really viable.
Put a modern sonar on it, put some AFW torpedoes, and the Flower class can still serve.
No, they need to go on.
Totally right.
No. A lot of these ships are gonna. The real value here isn't. So the Implacables and the Illustriouses could probably go as helicopter carriers to, and I'm talking a basic refit. You just open up the decks, merge the hangars into one hangar that's much higher, then reclose them again, and you sell them off as basic. And you basically go, we are selling this ship. It has machinery. It has hangars. We're not selling it with sensors. It has limitations on power gen. It has no armament. We're selling it without armament. And we are selling them for a certain price. I guarantee you some people will snap those up, especially given the price they'll be at.
I will point out, that's what I was saying. That the market for the pre-nuclear material has massively shrunk since the reduction in background radiation.
Yeah.
But there is still a market there for high sensitive radiation sensitive equipment.
Yeah.
I have more of a question of how much asbestos do these ships have?
There's
no.
Oh yeah, there's the rub.
I'm unsure if you can scrap them. If any
Here's a reminder that
scrap them.
the armored carriers had literal meters long and meters thick asbestos curtains in them.
Oh yeah. So here's the thing. So just very quickly to get away from the carriers, the real prize here, and I do say this in terms of I'm being genuinely serious here. So Renan's in a museum, Nelson's in a museum. the King George V and Duke of York are in museums. The real prize here, in terms of assets the Royal Navy might actually choose to have, is the last two King George V's. The ones that are basically
Renowned
fresh.
missile battle cruiser? Question mark.
She's old and she is somewhat worn out from war service. This is the reason why I'm focusing in on Anson and Howe. They're much later. They're much
Are
later.
they in the condition they were in at the end of the war? Because if she's in good condition post refit, Renown could be a very funny ship to just stick some missiles on.
It's possible.
Yeah, but why? Vanguard exists.
I don't know if Vanguard does, because if it's 1945, I'm assuming it's the Royal Navy commissioned Royal Navy. And I don't know if Vanguard is commissioned in 45. No, she's not.
I think she's
No,
in
she's-
46.
Yeah, no, so they don't get Vanguard. This is why I'm focusing in on Anson and Howe. And also, bear in mind, the problems that prevented Anson and Howe from being somewhat useful are not a thing now. Remember, fleet speeds have come down significantly across the board. 28 knots as your maximum speed is perfectly acceptable. In fact, they'll pair along with the QE carriers perfectly well. The QEs where they aren't absolutely trying to break their engines do 26 knots. If they're trying to break their engines and overcharge them, then they can do 32. But that's not recommended outside of, oh shit, there's a missile coming.
wartime
Turn.
speed.
Yeah.
That's wartime speed.
Yeah.
But fleet, just cursed idea.
Yep.
Renown with modern gas turbines.
No,
You
that's
know
too
her
much
hull
less.
can do mid 30, high 30 knots of speed.
Yeah.
Replace after it with VLS. The secondary battery with Phalanx and SAM.
Hmm.
And you've got someone that can go around clubbing the Russian battle cruisers.
At AMC Woods, Vanguard. The thing is, if it's the Royal Navy at the end of World War II, we can't have Vanguard. She's not in commission, so for the same reason we can't have the Audacious class. It doesn't really work, and it does overcomplicate things because where are they being built if they're not finished? Like the yards don't exist anymore. It's got to be ships in the water, otherwise it really does start mucking things up.
Vanguard should be in the water though at this point.
Yeah, but again, like
It's
I'm
been
saying,
taken out.
you get what I'm saying. Just I'm trying to keep it simple. So in terms of Anson
It would be funny trying to watch BAE panic and try and fit out a battleship in 2020.
yes, it would be very funny. Anson and Howe though. So
They're most likely to take Howe.
they take both because that gives you two.
Uh,
They're both in similar condition by the end of the war, fairly fresh.
Don't one of those two have battle damage though?
No, neither Anson nor Howe do.
I don't know. There's a reason why the British would keep Duke of York and King George V over Anson and Howe
No,
after the war.
no, they're. Well, yeah,
Anson and Howe got thrown into reserve and
yes,
never got brought back.
yes, and the reason they were thrown into reserve is because they were in better nick, and would be in better nick when they were pulled out again. But of course, the situation, yeah, and of course, the situation changed rapidly, so they never got pulled out again.
All right.
That's why they were reserved so quickly, because they were the freshest battleships in the Royal Navy, and as such, they were the ones that it was far better to put away for use later on.
Right, Sea Dotters. Do you reckon you could put the Zumwalt's guns on Renown?
Why?
We're just talking about replacing
Please.
models for a modernized Renown.
No, please,
On
can
the
we
other hand-
get off of this idea, please?
On the other hand, you're gonna have bringing Anson back into service may cause a weird issue. You're gonna have two ensigns.
Honestly, I know it's a little bit gauche, and it is a little bit, but considering that these ships have reappeared, they're technically not commissioned in the Royal Navy at this time. So it's not entirely infeasible that if Anson and Howe are being brought back in as the first new capital ships of a new monarch's reign, Anson could be renamed King Charles III.
Uh, I thought they changed the tradition to naming it after the previous
No,
head of state.
no. That was literally just King George the Sixth not wanting to step on his father's toes and not wanting a ship named after him.
Yeah,
That-
but
that-
isn't
that
that the
was-
reason why the carriers are now Queen Elizabeths?
No, because the carriers are named for the battleships, not the sovereign. They're named for the Queen Elizabeth class battleships, not for. And Prince of Wales is named for the KGV Prince of Wales.
Actually, the sub hasn't been built yet, so just rename the sub.
What did you say, Foxo? You were very quiet there.
We
The
want to
sub
rename
hasn't
the
been
submarine.
built. So rename the sub. It hasn't been built yet.
What, it's astute, isn't it?
I thought that was one of the dreadnoughts and
Oh yeah,
No. Ensign's an astute.
yeah, she is.
officer replacing one of the dreadnoughts.
But yeah, so I mean, in terms of a KGV refit, you've got a few options, and they basically range from limited capability, limited cost, to exceptional capability, exceptional cost. So the limit, so it basically runs like this. The first refit is basically you do very little with them. You keep them basically as they are, as status symbols, cheap to run because of the oil they burn. Although not cheap in terms of crewing cost, but you'll probably be able to offer very generous in terms of paycheck as far as the people are concerned. Bonuses to the officers and men to stay on and help man them. The second, so then it moves up. So the second one is you remove the 5.25s, you remove all of the 20mm and 40mm AA guns, you remove all the aircraft, if they still have them, which they may not. You
sell one to a Saudi prince.
You fit them with single. You basically fit them with single 4.5. Basically, in order to save cost, you use it off. You basically borrow the armament from the Type 23s that are coming out of service. So you use So basically, you reuse the single 4.5s. Probably get put in 4 mounts in either side, because that then, and also the directors for that are the basic radar directors for that are tough enough if you mount them centrally slash at the top of the mast. They should be undamaged by the shock of the 14-inch guns going off.
I think simpler just strap more CWIS on.
And that does that's the second thing as well. You also then add at least one goal keeper mount per side centrally mounted.
No, I mean, don't bother with the 4.5, just CWIS.
Oh no, the reason you go with 4.5 is because that gives you a much better AA weapon. That gives you a much better it gives you a decent standoff against missiles coming in. At least, it's better than the 5.25s, which can't do it at all. Also, I like that gif of the dancing fox. That's nice. That is the vibing, good vibes. But then you come to the even bigger refit than that, which is the we're now into rebuilds. So we are removing the rear turret. We're adding a helicopter hangar for between 2 to 3 Merlin. And the reason I picked Merlin is because I want to have much more. I want that larger, more capable ASW asset compared to. Well, you either have 2 to 3 Merlin or 4 to 6 Wildcat. Those are your air wing options. That also avoids dealing with having to. Obviously, you will have to weight down where the barbette was, but it avoids having to deal with putting something else in there and the mess that will cause. Then you remove the 5.25s. You replace the mount furthest forward with 2 sets of 4.5 either side of the front superstructure, and then as far back as you can get from the main guns, you put a pair of evolved Sea Sparrow 8-box launchers, and then you put the directors for them as far back as you can. Far back as you can. I have no idea what happened there, folks. 1 minute we were all fine, and the next minute we weren't. No idea what happened there. For those on YouTube, the Discord just dropped. No idea why, but it did. But yeah, so the stream's still up. Yeah, it was a Discord issue. But yeah, so But yeah, so as I said, the reason that this is very much a point defense armament, because the ship, in order for it to carry anything else, I don't think A, it has the power gen. B, I don't think it has the I don't think the rebuilding cost of dealing with the internals is worth it. I don't think that anything more sophisticated could handle the Wait, is the stream not still up? No, the stream's still up. The stream's still up. What are you talking about? So evolve Sea Sparrow for point defense against incoming missiles. That's 2 8-box launchers per side, as far back as you can get them. And a pair and 3 Sea-Wiz, 2 either side of the ships and 1 aft on top of the helicopter hangar. And you have a basically effective Surface Action Group flagship with 6 14-inch guns, two single 4.5 mounts / 5-inch mounts, whichever the Royal Navy decides to go with. It's got evolved Sea Sparrow for point defense against aircraft and incoming missiles. As a last ditch, oh shit, it's coming for me. And then it's also got, in case of that fails, it's got 2 Sea-Wiz per side, 3 Sea-Wiz total. And it gives you the ability to project a nice big ASW net around a task force with 2 to 3 Merlins or 4 to 6 Wildcats. And it's still within the reasonable bounds of this isn't going to cost too much, as we aren't cutting into the ship's internals in too major of a way.
No, I think Treasury's still crying.
Oh, no, it is. Like, anything beyond the basic, like I said, of just keep the ships in service as they are, is making the Treasury cry. But we are approaching massive levels of the Treasury is crying. But yeah, that's basic.
Well, no, even the ship existing is going to cause the Treasury to cry.
Yeah.
You still have to replace the engines, though. Simple. The electric power generation of those engines, will not produce enough to support modern systems.
I don't think the answer will be engine replacement. I think it'll be additional generation capacity within the ship. So I think there will be...
Each on those ships is a fork of the main power plant.
The cost of replacing the engines is less than cutting up the superstructure and placing generator rooms aboard.
Both are incredibly expensive.
They are, but it's less expensive than trying to replace the steam turbines with gas turbines. Significantly less.
No, I think you've got to protect the generators above the waterline.
Yep, but then again, that's just something else to bear in mind. These ships are already a massive target, so it's just.
I'm more talking protect them from the elements and the ship's vibration.
I know, but it's the best way to do it rather than, rebuilding the engines, which is too expensive and it's not practical at all. Right, we've basically kind of hammered that question to the ground. YouTube Minecraft Watcher, what if HMS Edinburgh, before it could sink, suddenly teleported to modern English waters? I mean, the crew, if she's found and she limps home, there'll be some confusion as to why she's here. The crew will be welcomed home, told what day it is, and Edinburgh will be probably preserved as is, in a dry dock somewhere, as best she can be.
She probably started right in Northern Ireland.
Why? Why did she start a riot in Northern Ireland? Why does she...
Because a large portion... Because any ship called Edinburgh is... Wait, no. Fuck, wrong place. Never mind, don't worry. These should got an Irish crew aboard. But they're Black Army Irish.
Zubikaku asks... Zubikaku asks, what if Yamato, Musashi, as well as the Ozawa, Egu fleet, Shikaku, Zubikaku, Taiho, Hio, Junyo, Zuiho, Rujo, Toshoze, Shoda, Nagato, Yahagi, and their escorts, as well as Admiral Ozawa and Admiral Shoima, and Admiral Ugaki appear in the modern day, saving them from being slaughtered at Saipan in 1944. How does the US and China react? How does Japan try to preserve their newfound massive carrier fleet and big armored brick? One other thing is, does the US take the opportunity to gather yet more information as how would they interview the 6'7" tall gargoyle and former captain of Chicago, as well as the poetic tool? First of all, Japan doesn't try to protect their massive fleet and armored brick because they don't have one. They disavow that fleet. It also, quite frankly, it doesn't belong to them. It owes no allegiance to them. It wouldn't recognize any commands they sent, even if they could somehow send them.
No, they would recognize the Emperor.
Yeah. You've got an interesting situation. The Japanese civilian government will not necessarily want to be known for that period, because they are very historical revisionist to a degree. But you've also got another problem. These are also some of the monuments to Japan. So even as, a period... Do you mind? Even as a period that they don't like talking about, some of them they'll have to... The whole thing about the carriers is pointless, because what are you going to do with them?
Yeah, they're basically useless.
At best, helicopter landing ships?
But also
Taiho's the only one that... Taiho's the only one that functionally might be able to make something of.
And also, politely, a lot of them have rather dark histories of what their air wings did near China.
Was Yamato mentioned there, I guess? Sorry.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yamato will be kept. I'm pretty sure.
I don't think
they are expanding the Yamato Museum.
The reason why I say that
is much longer rebuild than 2026.
Because keep in mind, we've had this debate before, Fleet.
We have, and we couldn't agree then.
It is a case of, yes, but just very briefly, it's very much a period of history they do want to either forget or change to a degree.
Can they
but also, you cannot take the soul of Japan away, which is Yamato.
Well, Musashi's definitely going.
Musashi's probably going. No, Musashi probably is. Because it's easy. They can argue why they want to keep Yamato. Because Yamato is literally
and also,
one of the ancient names for Japan,
she has
symbol of Japan, and practically had a religion built around her at the time.
And also, politely, out of all of the battleships present, she's the one that has the least spotty record when it comes to doing things that might be considered to be a violation of human rights.
Off the top, well, to be fair, Musashi also wasn't really involved in that either. But no, the problem is Musashi's kind of known for getting sunk.
Yeah, and
Yamato is at least known for her glorious final stand and being a symbol.
Yeah.
Musashi doesn't fulfill quite the same thing.
Yeah.
The only way you're probably seeing Musashi saved is if a certain Chinese company gets involved. I mean, you're probably not seeing that.
Yeah. I mean,
honestly, some of the anime companies alone might just save Yamato because
I mean,
Space
this is.
Battleship Yamato is still super popular.
I mean, you say that, Dragon,
Oh, no.
you say that, but this is the Chinese nation that literally built a representation of a 1-to-1 replica of an Imperial Chinese battleship to show it off.
Yes, and have you heard of the company called Yostar?
Vague.
I don't know.
Not sure.
I don't
The,
truly
the
even see the
people
point of
behind
arguing
Azure
about this.
Lane,
Oh, yes. I mean,
where
honestly,
Musashi is one of their biggest money makers.
you
Like I said,
know,
that was entirely said in a joking manner, but the only ship I really see being saved of anything large scale is Yamato.
Yamato
If
and
you
Musashi.
If they've got some of the more famous destroyers, you might see a couple of those saved, like Yukikaze.
possibly. But I will point out that all the carriers have to go as per Japanese law. That's just happening. Like, some artifacts will be saved, no doubt, but unfortunately those carriers have to go, and they're not really useful anyway. The real problem is the crews and the officers. They are a problem. They are a problem. They probably need to be arrested and re-educated. And I mean that in the way you think I mean it. If they are not, they will probably try to coup the Japanese government.
It's worse than that. You've just given the nationalists a bunch of rallying symbols and markers.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty much.
No matter what you do with them.
I mean, the cleanest.
Pretty
I
much.
mean, honestly, if they appear, where they appear, if they come forwards, to 19 from 44 to now, from where where they were, close to the Battle of Saipan, the cleanest way to do it is to have multiple U.S. nuclear submarines torpedo the fleet and sink it before it gets anywhere. Just put ad caps into all the ships and let the men.
So,
drown.
I'm sorry, what?
Yeah.
So you're gonna have to.
Did you just advocate for genocide?
No, I advocate.
Exactly.
Yeah,
No, I didn't. I
That is
advocate.
literally what you just said.
No, I said.
that is a violation of so many international maritime laws, human rights, and all sorts.
It's not really. They're not supposed to be here,
Also,
and they're
technically
already.
speaking, this is, even though it is technically not the same Japan, that would still be, or at least some could construe that as a declaration of war against Japan.
Not if nobody knows the fleet has come forward. Apart from the US.
How do you do that?
Well, ideally, I'd have the US be the first to discover on satellite that it's happened, and make the correct decision to remove this potential problem point from.
Correct decision. That's some strong wordings right there.
That is, no offense, Fleet, but this wording's really not great.
The people
That's-
people on these ships are already dead men. They do not exist in this.
Not anymore, they're
year.
not.
Well, then it's time to correct that little mistake.
And
Why?
This is the
What,
reason
you're, so
why
you're literally
we really
so
should
you're
not be-
advocating for killing's sake.
I'm advocating for correcting the timeline.
But how's it correcting the
He's
timeline?
advocating them.
Right, no.
He's advocating for them to suffer the same fate the SS should have and did.
So here's my problem with you saying correcting the timeline. By the sheer fact they've turned up, therefore that means this is the timeline. By the sheer fact that time has changed, you've got a split in the timelines, and now the current timeline is the timeline where they turned up here.
The people on these ships are problematic in the extreme for
And
Sino-Japanese.
doesn't mean you just execute them.
Considering what they could mean for Japan and its place in the world.
You still don't have the right to send tens of thousands of people to their grave for no reason.
They're already in their
Japan is
grave.
a national
No,
sovereign
they're not, though.
nation.
They're not in their grave, though, because they are now flesh and blood.
Yeah, AMC Woods.
It does not matter if they might have died at one point in the future, relative to their time. The fact that now
You have to
They
go
are here.
how
They are
decide to
alive.
bomb something. Once
Yeah.
they bomb something, they are valid targets. Until they bomb something, under the international law of the sea, they are not valid targets.
And kind of as was mentioned there in the chat, so what, are we just massacring people now because they pose an issue to you?
Oh, no,
This is the same issue the Nazis used. the Chinese used, the Japanese at the time used, and the Russians currently use.
But they're not.
See why that's not really a good point to make here.
Those
Flint.
aren't equivalent statements at all. These are people who've come forwards who will try to topple a democratically elected government the first chance they get.
Will they?
Yes.
Who said they're going to?
Why? Right. So first of all, they listen to their leaders.
Bold assumptions.
They will listen to their leaders. It is their whole thing of you obey your superior. And notably, some of the superiors here are ones who, while they're not brilliant, aren't complete idiots, especially Yamamoto.
Yamamoto's
It's not
not here.
Tojo himself.
Yamamoto's dead,
who needs
Tozawa.
Yeah, like they will probably go as soon as they figure out what's happened, especially if they learn Japan got nuked twice, which is not hard to learn if they do just talk to people. It is very much a case of, no, we lost the war, and depending on how you put it, we lost it honorably, depending on how it's phrased. A good number of the leadership might be a case of, right then, let's not immediately start blowing people up. What's actually going on here?
Yeah, Knight. Even if my plan was followed through, how would the Japanese know the Americans sank the ships? This fleet would have no way to detect a nuclear submarine.
What if there are survivors?
I don't know, man. You just said using nuclear warheads.
No, I said use nuclear attack submarines.
Yeah, using nuclear submarines.
Yeah, nuclear attack boats.
Yeah.
It would be the only way. It would be the only way to do it.
But here's the thing: what if there's a civilian ship here?
And also,
No, right? Can we let so go?
I'm also not
These
arguing.
ships are traveling
I'm also
on what
not.
nowadays is quite a busy shipping route. When they get torpedoed, they will start blaring an SOS signal.
Sounds like quite a
Every
lot of
single
fun.
maritime patrol or maritime force in Southeast Asia is going to see them and hear them.
Well, good. Then the people can be rescued and dismissed as madmen. I'm not arguing for the.
No, they won't be though, because they will likely have proof that you just sunk their ships.
Well,
For
yeah.
the sheer point of them existing.
Well, yes.
It's
the
also
ships-
quite a large fleet.
Yeah.
You're not sinking that big of a fleet with the available deployed forces immediately.
I mean, okay, that is true, but I just think that we need delegitimizing the arguments these people have that they've come from the past will go a long way to correcting certain things that might go wrong. I'm not arguing.
That's not up to you to decide.
I'm not arguing for, machine gunning the survivors in the water. I just want to remove the visual ships that they came on.
But in doing so, you've sent tens of thousands to a watery grave for no real reason.
The most logical thing to do is get the Emperor to ask them to surrender, come back to port, and then let the Japanese government deal with these people as they see fit.
Well, okay, fine. If we do that, which I'm still... They need to, well, as soon as they get to Japan, they need to be arrested and taken off to be re-educated, have the nationalism purged out of them.
How will they be arrested?
Pardon?
Honestly, they'll probably be kept on board and just
Yeah.
not let off for a good while.
That's
until
what's
the
more
government
likely to happen.
figured out
Instead
what happens.
Yeah. I don't see them being arrested. It's more a case of, right, hey, you clearly know something's not right here. We know something's not right here. We're not going to immediately arrest you because that means, well, the idea of arresting people who fought and died for their country will really be a bit of a stab in the back to them.
Well, I mean, considering that the cause they were fighting for was quite literally a stab in the back to the Japanese nation.
Not at the time, it wasn't.
Considering that it was basically a 1 in 1 million chance we win, and if we don't win, we know we're gonna fucking ruin the Japanese Empire as it stands. Yeah, at the time it was.
But no, because to them, it was what the public accepted. Like, looking back on it, is it a good idea? Absolutely not. But to them at the time, they had no possible resolution.
Even without hindsight, at the time, the Japanese... The people that actually mattered in Japan, aka the people running the government and the military, because what the populace thought didn't fucking matter to them, because they had total control over it, they knew full well that either that it was a 1 in a million chance they win, and if they don't win, they lose everything. and they did it anyway.
Yes, because they were gonna lose everything anyway.
It's a gamble. They lost the
Yeah,
gamble.
they threw the dice because they realized, what is our chances? Well, we throw the dice and lose, or we have a slow death.
No idea, Knight. I don't know if this is a.
So-
I don't know if this is a fleet. I don't know if this. Let me just check the question. Did this fleet vanish? I assume
It
this.
didn't say. It just said it appeared.
Yeah, but actually, if it says saving them from being slaughtered, that means that okay. So they have come forward. At that point, then the entire history of the war would be different, and these people wouldn't have. In that case, I need to revise. So okay, maybe don't sink the entire fleet, even though I do still think that would be the cleanest option.
It's a way to get the most blood on your hands, especially
Yeah.
what in a international Supreme Court would rule in this case as innocent men.
Well, the dragon technically is the way you could get more blood on his hands. That instead of just sinking them with torpedoes, he could nuke them.
As I said, Fleet didn't mention nuking them, because if he did, then I would have far more problems with him, but Fleet
Yeah.
didn't say that, so I'm not going off that.
Yeah, no. Like that's just complete and total overkill.
Speed
We
running
say
90.
that, but to be fair, in order to ensure nobody finds out this exists, a nuclear attack is by far the easiest way to ensure that happens. It is the most immediate way of applying a response, because you don't have enough forces to sink a fleet that size. At least,
Even a
unless
nuclear
you
strike.
scattering.
The problem is even a nuclear strike isn't guaranteed to do it. Not all of it. Not every ship. Not enough.
Yes, it would. Everything that's not the full battleships, it would.
No.
And then you could probably
let's say you hit center mass, there's a chance you might not get the ships on the outside.
depends on
I would
nuclear
want to-
attack you're throwing.
I mean, I've got two options: the more bloody one, which would be a clean slate wipe, and the one that has a little bit of humanity in it, which. Because they shouldn't exist anyway, Yenna, they're dead men already, and it's going to cause a lot of complications if they're here. It's a situation unprecedented in the world. And do we really want to answer the questions that might pose in terms of people being able to travel through
the
time?
problem is, though, it's not
Up to us.
as simple as you think, because
To be fair, this
Yeah,
is not.
so
This is
the problem
definitely
is-
something
problem
we're not
is-
qualified to answer.
yeah, the problem is they're not dead men. Records-wise, they might be. That's all well and good. But
But
you
now they're
try
standing
and...
in front of
But
you.
honestly, here's a question. Do you think that US sailors would actually agree to this order to slaughter this fleet of people who haven't done anything yet to them?
I mean...
I don't think the US commander actually would accept that order. Partly because it is a violation of international law, and second, it sets a real bad precedent for what happens for anything else. Also, you can't even keep this up because inevitably someone on that crew of submarine crew will blab. And if even a cursory inspection is done in that area with sonar, and they find a fleet of new wrecks that weren't there, that's some real bad questions for the US to answer.
It's not even
US
that. It's whistleblowers for war crimes in the US Navy are legally protected.
I mean, honestly, I can't even say this, but the SCP Foundation, in terms of just that scenario, has it right. You don't let this sort of interference exist. You lock it up, you remove it, and if necessary, you do what has to be done.
Okay, then, so if we're doing this, now give me a sec, Fox. Okay, so if we're doing this way, then actually, according to the Temporal Prime Directive, this is actually perfectly fine, because this is now the place where they're meant to be.
What?
They were always meant to be here, clearly, if they've appeared here.
No, it's
That's a
not-
good point, actually. That's a good
That's
point.
not what the SCP Foundation does.
When it comes to temporal anomalies, they either lock them up or get rid of them.
No, they don't.
Well, locking things up is kind
Most
of
of the time, they use, as long as the people themselves are anomalous, they just administer amnestics and reintegrate them into their society.
Well, that's fine, but we don't have amnestics in this situation. I wish we did. That'd be even
But in
better.
this
Why
case,
can't you say what the SCP Foundation says?
I mean, I mean, the thing to do.
It's a very difficult question to answer, but I'm pretty sure we can all agree. Slaughtering them all for existing is not the answer.
I mean, I'm not slaughtering them for existing. It's just, well,
You kind of were.
well, it's not. When you put it like that, it sounds more macabre than it actually is.
Wait.
But
Drag-
that is because your response was kind of, you know.
Right. So if Grog is Mega Hitler, Trump is American Hitler, Hitler is Hitler, does that make Fleet French Hitler?
I am not arguing
Why
for
is it
something
French?
quite so drastic as you're all suggesting.
What, your final solution to the Imperial Japanese Navy problem?
No, it's
It's
look,
to
it's
sink
just
them all.
look, it's just like sinking them in a naval battle, except you're taking them by surprise. We're just repeating what should have happened to them, Siam, but just later down the line.
Except you're no longer legally at war with them.
And the US wasn't legally at war with Japan when they struck Pearl Harbor. Consider it a reverse.
There's a big difference now, though. People didn't like that then, they won't like it now.
A first strike is not the correct answer.
It's a difficult situation to resolve, and there's no easy answers here.
And also, here's another point. If you did this, you know you're saying about the hardliners in Japan? Well done for just giving them one of the best points they can have of why they can't trust the US.
No, you just torpedoed NATO. Well done.
What's NATO got to do with this? No, seriously, what's NATO got to do with this?
I'm not sure. We'll
Because
have to
you
see.
decide a lot of trust that people have in the Americans that they won't just start randomly torpedoing people.
Well, there was a very specific reason for this. How were they supposed to know?
Yeah.
No, there
How
isn't.
does it look from the outside? Some people that don't like America turn up. The Americans don't like that. The Americans torpedo them and kill them all.
Look, how were they
Rather not
supposed to
go
know?
war,
How were
without
they?
telling anyone, without telling them the people they're attacking they're at war with them, so without a formal declaration of war, they just decided. So anyway, I started torpedo. Now, say if you're Japan and you think you do something that America doesn't like, you're not going to be paranoid that the Americans are just going to start torpedoing.
This is
Or if you're India,
this
the
is
Americans are just going to start torpedoing. Or if you're the UK, the Americans are just going to start torpedoing.
this is a unique situation to deal with a unique problem. You can't relate it to the general
But
geopolitics.
it will still affect geopolitical relations.
It creates a
This would-
precedent. You do it once, people expect you to do it again.
Well, I suppose if another fleet of time travelers comes along, then perhaps that might be applicable.
Yeah, okay. Right. Go back to a Royal Navy question, which is a similar scenario. What's stopping the Americans just deciding, if at least say this happens in the same universe, what's stopping the Americans from randomly torpedoing the Royal Navy that's just turned back? Because both are fleets from a quite evil expansionist power that did a lot of very bad things, including some genocide. So, by your metric, the Royal Navy that facilitated this would be as bad as
You can't be
this
comparing.
IJN fleet.
You can't compare the World War II Royal Navy to the World War II IJN. That's not.
But
even...
so okay, so but
Because now,
go for this point.
No, this Royal Navy will contain destroyers and a cruiser that opened fire on Indian protesters in Mumbai. Which
Now say this fleet turns up after the Japanese one, and say you don't torpedo it and you let it live. Then you've got a question of, well, so why were you allowed to do that to one power and not the other? Did you do this just because you didn't like them? Is there a problem? This sets a real bad precedent.
Well, I mean, as I said, the the men of the sailors and men of this fleet are problematic. They could do horrible things to people.
And they deserve a fair trial and to have a chance to see
if we all agree,
potentially everything else.
If we all agree that they should all face a court from enlisted man up to admiral, then I'm happy to agree that we should let them surrender.
That's not necessarily how it will work, though. They will have to see. They will have to be brought before things, but even then, a good number of these people you can't place any crimes on.
No, most of them will in fact be let go unless there's direct proof of them actively committing war crimes.
Well, that's fine then.
Remember, we have to go off modern day rule of law.
As long as they
to 1940.
My thing is, I'm not saying they all should be charged. I'm saying they all need to they all need to go through the same process, whether that leads to arrest, charge, or release. But they all need to go through that process from enlisted man up to admiral. Because the Japanese Navy did do some heinous shit during the war.
We need another Nuremberg trial.
Yeah, and probably, you know what? Given what you've said, you're probably right. We should probably also try if any of the men who committed, the acts that similar to the one Dragon listed in the Royal Navy. We try our own people for war crimes. Foxo said in the Royal Navy. We should probably also try them as well. Because again, if we try our own people for war crimes committed during the Troubles and in Afghanistan, we shouldn't make an exception for these people who've come back with the Royal Navy who have committed things.
Problem.
What?
Foxer mentioned it earlier as well. Statute of limitations is up.
Hey.
You cannot legally do it. Someone retroactively for a crime if they committed the crime before said law came into practice.
And also that law has now, the length of time it has been, has now has exceeded the law and statute of limitations where you're allowed to prosecute them for it.
And it's only aggregating factors like being the central organizer of war crimes, which removes the statute of limitations.
I think this has opened up a can of worms that I hadn't really considered before, and I don't mean in terms of this. I mean just generally in terms of these whole, what do you do with the crews and the men when these ships come forwards or back? And it's something I don't think we've ever actually discussed it before. And it's not as simple as you think it is.
That's simply because we never considered the crew to come back as normal civilians. The crews keep bringing forward, and they keep operating. We presume they keep operating ships.
Yeah, we haven't actually thought about what happens when they reintegrate, but we've had to confront that in this situation because of the nation involved and the unique relationship between that nation and its past.
To be fair, it really started when you just outright said we're going to just sink everything.
I had my reasons, as I said.
Yes, it was a really bad reason, but yes.
It was logical. It was brutally logical, but it was logical.
That's like saying someone who was a thief showed up in your front lawn and the first thing you do is shotgun blast in the face.
NRA member say what? But
I don't know, he's a trespasser and he's a threat to me, so I shot him in the face. Stand your ground laws. Get fucked.
But yeah, it's a long and difficult situation. But it's a difficult situation. It's a complicated scenario, and as we have discussed, there is no real clean-cut solution here.
This is something the Japanese government will have to figure out, and you will have to respect whatever the Japanese government decides.
Yeah. Akazuki asks, what if USS Helena, Brooklyn St. Louis class, appeared suddenly in Pearl Harbor today? Museum ship. What if USS YouTube Minecraft Watcher? What if USS Harder appeared today? Museum ship. Now we come to the last big question of the evening. YouTube Minecraft Watcher asks, if the panel was sent back to the pre-Clone Wars Star Wars galaxy, how would each of you deal with Palpatine / stop his plans? Well, I know what Dragon's going to say. He's going to say, I'm going to join the Empire.
Not necessarily. Actually, it depends on my mood.
Depends on his mood.
But to be honest, the question is, why should I do something about Palpatine? Like, genuinely. Yeah, he does god-awful stuff, don't get me wrong. But... yeah, he's also a Sith Lord, and what am I meant to do against him? Like, you know how hard it is to kill a Sith Lord? Or do anything about it? It ain't easy.
Well, and I know exactly how I'm killing him. Count Dooku was a visionary.
Theoretically, yes, if you could convince Count Dooku that, this whole thing is a large plot, you could do some really funky stuff with the CIS. You could also do some really funky stuff with the clones. Like, honestly, one thing would be trying to convince the clone order, the Jedi Order, of the clone inhibitor chips and the orders. If you could convince them of Order 66 and by proxy Order 65, yeah, I know it's the most common fanfic thing out there, but hey, it's there for a reason. Especially depending on when this happens and which Jedi you talk with, you really can do some interesting stuff with the clones.
But if you just don't send Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan to the drink dispute.
I hope that came through. It's quite plausible it didn't. I just noticed my Discord was acting out.
Yeah, Discord's being a bit funky, it seems, on Fridays nowadays.
Mm.
But in terms of me, how to deal with Sheev, if possible. Well, the best thing to do is to not plan, because if you don't plan, then you can't be preempted by the sort of inbuilt cognition.
Yes, the American way.
Of the Jedi or the Sith.
Just feed knowledge to Count Dooku. He's trying to kill Palpatine, and he's strong enough to kill Palpatine. He's good enough to do it. Just get him in a position he can.
You basically need to get in before.
Actually,
you basically need to go to Windu and Dooku while they're still Jedi and before Dooku has even gotten close to getting in touch with Palps, and go, hey guys, you know that senator from Thingy? Yeah, he's a Sith Lord. Go get him, lads.
Not that easy.
While he's on it.
True. How to kill Palpatine?
I'll be honest. You should actually let the Clone Wars happen.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, there's more and more resentment building up. And if you can get rid of Palpatine during the Clone Wars, especially early on, you actually could reach peace with the Confederacy of Independent Systems and actually have some quite good stuff in there. Plus, the relations between Jedi and clones form is actually really good.
Yeah.
It actually makes a lot more Jedi more human.
Yeah.
Sort of thing.
Yeah. So this is my I think Dragon's hit the nail on the head here. Basically, I'm blending a lot of this stuff together, taking the best bits of everyone else. So Dooku, you go to Dooku and say, look, we're gonna play both sides here, and tell him how the Clone Wars go historically, and say, we're gonna fuck up this Sith Lord as well. So Dooku is gonna act like he's working with Palps, but he's not gonna be. We're going to have the goal to be fight an independence war to achieve an independent peace deal with the Republic, like we see in that episode, where they vote for, to reach out and make peace, but don't actually. But it's not a false flag. It's actually the Senate and Dooku now want to actually make peace.
It wasn't a false flag to begin with. It was Palpatine who turned it into a false flag.
Yeah, I know. But And also, we basically have Dooku, could basically don't have the Confederacy have the deep flaws in it, like, the whole, corporations having too much influence in it.
I mean, that's not a CIS issue. That's just Star Wars Galaxy issues.
Yeah, true.
You thought multinational corporations were bad. Wait until you get stellar corporations.
Yeah, you got a good point. But yeah, so, and then basically the plan will be...
Friendly reminder, Blastech sold blasters to both sides in the war.
Yeah. The plan will basically be to have Tyrannus say, hey, Palps, I've put the chips in the clones. They're gonna be able to do what you say. But basically, you flip the orders on him. So when he tries to pull Order 66, it's basically, Palpatine's the Chancellor is a traitor. Work with the Jedi to betray the Chancellor, rather than, the Jedi.
You don't do that. I like where you're going, but no, you don't do that. You just straight up have the Jedi and Dooku aware of Order 65 and Order 66. Because if you let it get to the point where Order 66 is enacted, the CIS is already done for. It's too badly fractured the bank, and also let alone the economic cost of both sides. No, you want to stop it around the mid-war.
At that point, the banks haven't been deregulated, and the Confederacy isn't broken. And the Confederacy...
And also, people don't hate their guns.
No. So basically, yeah. At that point, also, bipolar galaxy. Well, actually, technically at that point, tripolar galaxy, because the cartels will be on a not even playing field, but they'll be within shouting distance of both the Republic and the Confederacy. The Hutts are more powerful than they are actually given credit for. They just don't use it very often.
But if any fleet actually sent against them, the Hutts get wiped out effectively.
Not really.
In terms of power projection, yes.
The Hutts value is in the asymmetry. They're too much of a pain in the ass to take out for either the Republic, the Empire, or the CIS.
This does not put them on even close to equal footing, or even, they are so far down the list.
They're just a very angry slug-shaped hedgehog.
Yeah. Oh, because, Akazuki, Palpatine was basically keeping himself looking like a normal bloke, not certified, using, Sith magic-y MacGuffins. And basically when Mace gave him the old zappity zap zap, have that you old twat, basically he was too focused on not fucking dying to keep his facial appearance the mask. And he never bothered to put it back on. That's right, ain't it, Dragon? Palps was, keeping himself looking like a normal bloke for, appearance's sake.
Effectively, also, with the dark side degradation, you can really easily pass that off as I have been scarred and deformed by the attack on my life.
Like it was super convenient. Yeah, it was super convenient. I assure you, matters alphas never. Anyway, but yeah, so yeah, that's how he would do it. At that point, bipolar galaxy. Fuck yes, no rebellion. Bipolar galaxy.
Rebellion still happen.
Why?
You've just proved that independence movements can work now.
Right. So, no, right. I get where you're coming from, Foxo, but no, the rebellion doesn't happen. The rebellion is a very specific thing because of the Empire. In this timeline, let me explain, Foxo, and then I'll let you counteract my points of why I don't think this, okay? Because, yes, you have proved an independence movement has worked. There is now a problem with this, though. Yes, you proved they work. But also, did you see what it took to let that work? Plus, now you've also let most of the people who want these independence movements have now got their independence.
The whole point
so a lot of the players now are much smaller. You're definitely going to have to perhaps deal with some brush fire wars. But that is something you can more than do. Plus, the Jedi are still around. And the Jedi have been very good at dealing with this previously. And especially now, if also the Jedi are working with the Confederacy. Because they're back to their original role of diplomats effectively.
And also bear in mind, this is going to be actually with Dooku as well, because Dooku is going to be like, okay, war's over. I've used it to get the independence for the systems I wanted and my style of government, but Dooku will still be good chums with his buddies in the Jedi Order. So Dragon's right. He will absolutely be like, hey guys, you're now a multinational
Not sure
peacekeeping
good buddies,
force.
but you might at least allow it.
Yeah.
Because doesn't he have this
Go
whole
on.
issue of him and the Jedi Order are quite on very bad terms with each other?
Yes, incredibly.
The whole
But
going
it- yeah,
thing.
incredible. Thankfully, they don't know about him murdering Yaddle, at least. But yeah, no, they are definitely on bad terms. But the Jedi can at least
Does Yaddle
look
get murdered?
past that to work. Yes,
Why?
depending on when this. Like, unless we can, get to him before that happens. But if you do that, the entire plan's off.
Why?
Unfortunately, Yaddle has to die.
Oh,
Because otherwise he does not. Otherwise, Tyrannus does not get close. Well, he doesn't become Tyrannus. He does not get close enough to Palpatine.
So basically, I suppose we could.
Sorry, Yaddle, but ever since that thing showed how you died, you're dead.
Yeah,
Ain't no saving you.
and I'm just thinking. Yaddle is a fairly smart Jedi. Could we not talk to?
You could potentially talk to her, yes.
Like, no. What I mean is, and go look. If we, I am overcomplicating it. But that's the fun of these questions, is the complicating bit. But anyway, to get back to what I'm saying, I'll bring Sidonis up because clearly he's got something to say. Yaddle is the sort of Jedi that if you sat her down and broke down in detail what the future would be if X doesn't go Y, and we've also spoken to Dooku and told him this as well, basically, and go, what we're asking of you is huge. But if you do this, and we've got Dooku's in on this as well. If you do this, obviously record something that Dooku can hold on to and then show to the Jedi afterwards to sort of explain what's happened and why. I think she might agree to go along with it. It's a massive
Honestly,
sacrifice.
she probably would.
It's a massive sacrifice to make, but to save the galaxy and the Jedi Order from the Sith, and from the hell that would be unleashed otherwise.
If we can effectively prove it and end it mid-war, there's definitely going to be grumblings on each side. No one's going to really be happy, but it's the best. But also, effectively, you've shattered the Sith plan multiple thousands of years in the making.
Yep.
Now, I'm definitely not going to say, and that's the Sith destroyed, because that's not how that works.
No.
But you've at least destroyed a plan that's took them thousands of years to really get working.
Yeah. L ratio bozo get Jedi'd.
So yeah, going back to Fox's point of, I do think there will be some rebellions.
Oh yeah.
But you will not see the rebellion. Sort of being the big key difference, I think, there.
Yeah. But anyway,
It depends. How authoritarian does the Republic go?
if you've removed the
Depends who the Senate, depends who does stuff, because with Palpatine gone, you now need a new Chancellor.
it depends if
So who are the most... So, well, let me just finish this, actually. Who are the most popular chancellors? Who are the most popular senators currently?
Padme, Bail Organa, and there's some other one I can't forget.
Mon Mothma.
Yeah.
Wait,
Those are the three most popular. There's a couple of others, but on average, I'm not going to say who, but I'm betting you'll probably see at least one of those three.
And honestly, if you get one of those three, the other two will probably back them as sort of a soft troika.
Wait.
So-
Equation isn't Mon Mothma the one who turns the New Republic into a de facto?
No, Mon Mothma desperately tries not to do that.
Because there's one.
It's only when Mon Mothma retires, effectively, does that happen, and proves that once again the New Republic was a bad idea.
What do you mean? A republic's a brilliant idea when you've got no infrastructure, no governmental trust, and no way of holding the leader accountable.
But yeah, so honestly, if I was going to put a name to it, you're probably going to see Bail Organa. Padme would probably be deemed too young. Mon Mothma also has a chance, but Bail Organa is the senator of Alderaan, one of the most important planets in all of Star Wars.
Wouldn't the Republic return back to its original democracy or democratic
Which is why,
processes?
yeah, but you still have they still had a chancellor.
Yeah,
Did
but
we see with Chancellor Valorum?
that much
Yeah, no.
power.
Yeah, they don't actually have the power to go authoritarian.
Yeah,
They're
but it is
effectively
a government in chaos at this point.
yes, but the Republic's always a government in chaos to a degree.
Well,
Yeah,
since
yes,
Fifth House
but it was
systems, right?
trying to turn into a dictatorship. Having
Yes
just
and no.
been changed into chaos, so it's either going to break apart or probably going to fall to some
Also-
sort of authoritarianism.
Well, also remember though, you've removed a lot of the voices that are advocating for more authoritarian nature.
I thought we
So a lot of
just
those are
removed we haven't.
You removed all the CIS elements, which a lot of those were agitators, because the best thing for them was an authoritarian republic gave them the excuse of this is why we need to go independent. Once you remove those voices, it becomes much easier. Also, anyone who are still left can either be dealt with diplomatically, or a number of them are Palpatine supporters, and without Palpatine, well, now what?
One of those
be
probably
fair.
gets eliminated.
To be fair, the last time the Republic, became authoritarian, someone had to orchestrate a war and play from both sides in order to do so.
I genuinely think that you probably don't see an authoritarian republic form out of this.
No.
You probably see a republic in chaos, you're probably right, but you don't see an authoritarian one.
And I will
You
point
probably
out,
won't-
As an authoritarian one.
Also, remember, at this point, the Jedi have once again been removed from military. And the Jedi especially have shown that, yeah, no, we've been forced into politics too much. You see them settle back into being their diplomats and peacemakers and guides, more than, yeah, no, this is exactly what you're doing because we say so.
yeah, because now they're not needed. There's an entire mature cadre of generals and admirals and a proper Republic military that now cannot be allowed to atrophy, which will be there to keep the peace. Because it can't be allowed to atrophy and will not atrophy, at least not to the stupid levels it got to prior to the Clone Wars,
Yeah.
because there's a Confederacy right there with its own military that also won't
Because
be
remember,
atrophying.
Okay, so you've got a very strong military with strong, decisive war hero commanders
not necessarily in the ways you're thinking, but go on.
serving a republic in chaos with no clear line of succession.
No, there is clear line of succession.
Yeah, but it would be
Because-
contested because most senators are power-hungry twats.
Not the way you think, though. Because most
really-
senators can't actually get that power.
There's three that can get it. As we said, Mon Mothma, Padme Amidala, and Bail Organa. And here's the thing: they will decide amongst the three of them which of them they feel a kind of wants the job, because none of them want the job, but they will go, okay, out of the three of us, who has the right temperament to lead? And then the other two will throw their weight and considerable influence behind the candidate the three of them decide.
Also, remember, there is a limit to how long you're allowed to be in office for. Which you will then get voted out of, more than likely. Because
Yeah.
I think you can only be in for 3 terms, and I think each term's only like 4 years.
Yeah, because remember, Palps served as long as he did because he gamed the system, did silly shit.
Emergency power.
Well, he got the vote of no confidence against Chancellor Valorum,
Yep.
who was actually considered before that a remarkably good chancellor.
Yes, indeed.
You've also then got the fact that he got emergency powers and the war was on. Once the war is over, it becomes a lot harder to keep this. I'll be honest, you probably see the clone army retired. Well, you don't see the clone army retired, but you see production of new clones stopped. That
And-
probably still happens.
And then
Clones are probably still kept around for a while,
You probably
but
have
then are
specialized
actually given a
clones.
proper retirement.
yeah, and also
Yeah.
and also more to the point, with the sheer size of the Republic, but now moving to a peacetime readiness footing, and the Confederacy probably doing the same, you will probably be able to, by offering a purely volunteer force with decent pay packaging, you will be able to bulk out a Republic military to acceptable size, as in keep it to an acceptable size with just volunteers, considering just the sheer raw mass of both of these powers.
Like, you might, again, this isn't going to say, we're not saying, Foxo, here, you're getting universal peace. There's going to be problems.
Yeah.
I don't think you see a military coup or anything like that, or any sort of authoritarian dictatorship forming out of the Republic.
You can see a pride, though.
I see,
Someone's
right, you
going
might
to
see it,
try.
right, you might see it by one or two
Yeah.
people, but then you probably see them slapped down.
No, I'm purely thinking from the known power we've seen corporate having in Star Wars.
Right. We'll tell you what actually happens with that more than likely. Most of those corporations lose a lot of their power.
Yeah.
A lot of them were being bankrolled by Sidious, effectively, which is why they had the power they did. And also, well, we don't need these orders for thousands of more ships.
Yeah,
So we're
which is
cutting-
why
so we're
I think
cutting-
you're going to see someone thrive. Because
And
those
you see them
corporations
slap, and you see
going
them
to be on,
slapped down.
yes, but there's still going to be chaos and instability because those corporations are going to go
This is
self-preservation
inevitable.
mode, which means that you're
No,
going to
this-
get attempts at coups.
But
You're
you
probably
probably
going to
also
have a
see them put
successful
down, though.
coup or two. They don't last.
Oh, right, what do you class as a successful coup? As in taking over the Republic? Or...
I think taking over bits of it,
But that gets
or
put down.
subordinating officers within the
So
Republic.
for instance, say Kuat launches a coup, gains control of the sectors around it. Which I know what probably ends up happening.
What?
Open Circle fleet moves in, which is loyal to the Republic, not Kuat. Kuat cannot match the numbers of Open Circle fleet. Kuat gets put down hard.
Yeah.
New people put in place, and things are put in place of how to prevent the megacorps doing this. Also, to a degree, for most of these corporations, launching coups is not actually in their interest.
Like, Kuat is
They probably want to
basically...
try. They want to. These companies will probably more want to buddy up with the New
Like-
Republic.
Yeah, like, seriously, the Kuat... Like, Kuat is sat there going, okay, so the Confederacy are there, and they're there forever, and both sides are iterating ship designs. We are still the main supplier of capital-grade warships to the Republic fleet, and they will need to iterate continuously, because the Confederacy is also now iterating continuously. Kuat's not going to look at that and go, this isn't enough, we need more. They're going to go, ka-ching!
Right. To quote a thing from BattleTech, effectively, you haven't made them lose their customer base. You've gave them probably the biggest customer they will ever have.
Forever, basically, as long as the Confederacy exists.
Also, considering this is Yuuzhan Vong timeline, it's a case of event. You can also mention, the far outsiders are a threat. Everyone needs to be preparing for this.
Yeah. Like, we can say, guys, like, now that this is peace... And basically, and the thing is, we can do this without alarming the Galactic Public, so we can go to both Dooku and the Confederate Senate, and to the New Republic Chancellor, whichever the Troika that is.
Ooh, no, you don't do it. You don't do it to the Senate, Confederacy Senate. That's
okay.
how you cause mass panic.
Oh, okay, so we go to Dooku, and we go to the Troika, and we say, and probably try and do it in the diplomatic meeting to get to both of them at the same time, so they can all ask questions and talk to each other and say, guys, we need you to keep a Cold War bubbling. And we need you to act like there's a Cold War bubbling, because we need you to massively invest in your militaries. We need you to build up planet-killing superweapons and stuff like that. Because what is coming from outside the galaxy is enough of a threat that you will need them. We need you to build up massive capital ships. We need you to redefine the capital ship paradigm so that what was a capital ship in the wars, the Providence, the Venator, are now cruisers. And stuff like the Malevolence and the Mandator are entry-level capital ships. That's the scale we need you to get to. We need you to actually build planet-killing superweapons, because you are going to need them. And we want you to do this under the mask of a Cold War between these two states in order to not panic your populace or governments. That's about right, Dragon, isn't it?
Potentially.
Right. Well, there we. I think we have kind of hit that on the head a bit. Sea Dollars, did you say what you wanted to say while I was gone?
No, I didn't get a chance to.
Well, go on then. What's your solution to dealing with Palpatine then, as a final cut off before we move on?
Right. Step 1. Get thyself to Naboo. Get thyself a blaster rifle. Step 3. Wait until the big parade after the end of the Trade Federation's blockade of Naboo. Shoot Palpatine with blaster rifle.
That's not gonna.
Oh, hang on. Palpatine now has 2 choices. He takes the blaster bolt to the face and dies, or 2, he deflects the bolt, revealing himself as a Sith right next to half the Jedi Council.
That is excellent, because if he alters his schedule, everyone will wonder why, if he uses his precognition. If he tries to dodge it, he reveals himself as an athletic Sith, aka why can the Chancellor move like that? And if he pulls his saber out to block it, oh, red lightsaber, Sith, fuck, he's the master, kill him.
There's literally no way Palpatine can get out of it.
Short of rescheduling the parade.
Which he can't really do. He is not. It's only right to the end he is Supreme Chancellor, and he doesn't have the kind of power. Even the Supreme Chancellor doesn't have the kind of power to reschedule a victory parade like that.
Also, it's
especially a local, small scale victory
Yeah.
parade. It's not up to him. He's just a guest of honor.
Yep. Sea Dollars had an excellent point there.
Mind you, I did enjoy listening to all your ramblings.
Brackman has a good point. Yeah. Stumble. Make it look like a stumble at the right moment.
You got half the Jedi Council standing next to him. They're going to detect something.
Not if he uses his precognition to stumble at the right moment and make it look like a natural stumble, which he could really do.
It's one of those things that's really difficult to pull off.
But he is.
Or it could just fall down the stairs and go, "Oh, sorry, I can't attend. I've gotten hurt."
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. But yeah, so we're on to our last question now, folks. Akazuki, what is the difference between civilian-built ship and a Navy-built ship? So, a civilian-built ship is a ship that is built with civilian levels of tolerances, construction, and reinforcement. They're usually cheaper and easier to build. A Navy-built ship is built to Navy tolerances, Navy structuring, Navy reinforcement. That's basically the long and the short of it. There's a little bit more... Go on.
Navy ships tend to have a lot more bulkheads.
Yeah.
And I mean a lot.
But that's basically the long and the short of it. Well, folks, we've come to the end of our time again. And
No, remember.
Oh, yes. Did you get that?
Akazuki, did you write up your rewrite that question? Because we said we'll do it at the end of Ramblings.
If you'd managed to
I'm going
rewrite
to
it.
presume.
I think
I'm going to presume he's not done yet.
I think they've gone away to do a proper full write-up. Which, you know, if they have, credit to them.
Because they showed a screenshot of them starting it, so we just want to know if they've finished it. Because we did say we would cover it.
Yeah, if they have finished it to a level that they think that is ready. So, so did you enjoy Warriors of Steel? Yeah, considering, Brackman, that I literally did an extra stream...
Is that my renown?
Yes, Brackman, considering that I literally did an extra stream yesterday, because I couldn't wait to get back into it, yes. Thank you very, very much for actually buying that for me all those months ago. I'm sorry it took so long to get round to actually, playing it.
That is such a weird KGB.
No, I've got... Oh, that's fine. Dude...
That's not a KGB.
Just,
for now.
Akazuki, please, please don't feel disheartened. Please do keep working away at it. I will be very happy to either proofread it if you decide to make it into a novel, or to answer it if you make it a very nice text block with a lot of information on it. Heck, I might even do a
Turn into
special...
a full rambling episode.
Yeah, I might even do a special ramblings on it, because that would be something worth doing a special ramblings on. Also, I have an announcement to make.
You're gay?
Okay.
So, some of you may have noticed a certain arrival we've had in the server. Some of you may not. But I am pleased to announce that not next Monday, but the Monday after, the 28th, we will have a special guest on Ramblings. Lord Hardthrasher.
Wait, oh, I thought you said we've got Robot Girly Band coming and like Primark?
No. Lord Hardthrasher has kindly consented to both join the server and appear on Ramblings on the 28th. Heck, he even fucking contributed to the discussion today.
You
Okay.
never did answer my question, Moe.
Oh. You asked me a question?
The one on Fleet's other server.
Oh yeah, that one that I keep as a backlog and a place to talk politics.
Wait, no. Where's historical chat?
Oh.
The quarter deck, yes. The one about the HP 410.
Oh, the 410 stable, it's the 210 that's fucked.
Okay, because I thought the 410 inherited the issues. With
No. The
especially
410
with
is the
Batman.
reason. The 410's where they fixed the issue. That's why it was actually accepted and produced.
Well, no, they had
or continued producing.
yeah. Whereas the 210 was built by the Hungarians because they had a locked-in contract, so they had to build them, and the Germans had to
Well,
buy
to be
them.
fair-
I thought it was the
They-
410 that was built in Hungary.
No, it was the 210. The
And
410.
the
No.
210 was the working version of the 410.
No, other way
'Cause
around.
They had to go back and redesign it because the 210's based off a pre-war race aircraft.
No, the
No,
210.
210's the one that is unstable. They
Yeah.
had to do a lot of aerodynamic changes to the 210, and it basically ended up as the 410 as the production model.
Yeah. The 410 is passable, and in some cases even good. The 210 kills its pilots on a regular basis.
I mean, that's
It's
why
the
the 410
war.
came around by 43.
Yeah.
So, what was the actual issue with the 210 then?
It fucking... It's almost unflyable.
Something. I don't know the full detail, but it's something along the wing route and stuff like that, and just
I mean, funnily enough, we were
disrupted
just...
airflow
I mean,
or something
funnily
like
enough...
that, and caused really bad instability in the longitude or something like that.
It's quite funny. We were just talking about him, but Hardthrasher does actually cover exactly what the problems with the 210 were in his video on the MB262 in detail.
There we go.
Does he?
Yeah, because he has
Because I thought...
because he has
No, he
'cause-
just mentions it.
no.
Because he mentions it as why the 262 has a trouble development because Messerschmitt ends up getting fucked because he was overconfident with it, and
Yeah.
the Luftwaffe was locked into the. So he's talking about the contract side,
No,
not about the actual flaws with the aircraft.
no, he does. He basically says, yeah, it tries to kill its pilots.
Compensation.
Yes, but he doesn't say why it tried to kill its pilots.
He does.
1940 work for
He
a bit,
doesn't.
but by
I
late
don't remember
1943,
that
it was
video.
already looking
Yeah, he does. I remember it distinctly. I think it's you have to give it
Which
full.
is?
Yeah, it's basically you have to give it. I can't remember. That's why I'm saying go and look it up because I can't remember. I remember something about it not it you need full right rudder to fly straight until you don't. Occasionally you'll
Yes, but what I'm asking is, why was that an issue? I'm asking what the root of the problem is,
no idea.
not the outcomes of the problem.
Oh, no idea.
Hence, I was asking Moe. Because Moe knows this stuff.
Dragon is the Star Wars guy, and the Star Trek guy, and the Stargate guy, and the 40k guy.
I'm my boyfriend.
Yeah, that bit as well. And Basically, Dragon knows every single fandom. Just forever.
Yes, he's
Okay,
even
so-
knows the Five Nights at Freddy's franchise, don't you, Dragon?
Due to your
You
link
know.
lecture.
You now know why he always comes back.
Okay, here we go. The wing design of the ME210 has caused the aerodynamic center to be much
Sorry,
further
Link.
back, causing it to become very wobbly, from what I understand. Basically, it has a really fucked center of gravity. And basically, they had to reshape the wing and extend the length of the aircraft to create more stability, which resulted in a much worse turning rate than a 110 because it's a bigger aircraft.
Okay, so it suffered the same issues the early TU2 suffered from. When the fuselage is too short in the centre of mass is off, which means that flat spin.
Pretty much. And then also, let's see, 410 also got new engines, so
So remember there was some about an engine synchronizing issue as well?
let's see, the 210, what did the 210 use? Let's see, 210 use... Right, there we go. 210 used to 605, the 410 switched over to 603.
Right, folks, while I do love this conversation,
Right, you should end it first.
yes,
Go
yes,
ahead.
sorry, I know you got sidetracked, and it is a good conversation, but I really should wrap this up. Thank you everyone for coming to Catch Up Ramblings. Hope you've all enjoyed. Please do tune in on Sunday, when obviously there'll be Fleet Sunday streaming. Not sure what game it'll be, but please do tune in on Twitch if you don't. If you do want to support the channel, please do drop in to Patreon or Ko-Fi. Ko-Fi is preferred. I get more of the income, and it comes straight into me. And if you want to just give a one-off donation, you can. And I understand that is a lot more manageable for some people rather than trying to commit to a monthly donation. So please do feel free to drop in to Ko-Fi. But of course, if you do want to go the old-fashioned way and support me on Patreon, you can do that as well if you want. Like and subscribe. Obviously, it helps grow the channel. I'm trying to get to 500 so I can get paid from the YouTube side of it as well. And of course, take care.